Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. David Snyder. Welcome to Irresistible Influence and Charisma Secrets of Killer. This is part of our Killer Influence Training Program, our flagship influence and training system. I'll be your host for the next 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on how far down the influence rabbit hole you want to go. Before we get into tonight's training, I do, however, want to go over some administrative things, and I want to cover a few bases that this content in particular tends to provoke in people. First of all, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your time. If you're somebody who views any form of influence as unethical or satanic, this is probably not the best use of your time. Okay? If you are tired of hearing no in your life, if you would like to actually express yourself more eloquently, more charismatically, to have people hanging on your every word, to like and love and trust you and give you your due and your say in this world, this is probably someplace that you're going to want to, take a lot of notes, do a lot of drills. Now, for those, I know a lot of you are joining us from the UK, from Australia, from Europe, as well as Canada, right? I love you all, and I know you guys are in different time zones. In fact, my organization and I had a meeting a couple of days ago where we're going to start testing doing webinars just for you folks in the European time zones and things like that. But again, that's not going to happen like immediately. But there will be a replay for this. So if you did, if this is your first time with us, and you didn't schedule enough time, or it's really late where you are, and I love you all for hanging out with us, there will be a replay. Okay. The only thing is that with the replay, you might miss out on some of the we always have an offer connected to our events. I'll just be upfront with that, right? But my goal for you is for you to come away with a handful of solid, real world, actionable things. You don't have to believe a single thing that we're going to teach you on this webinar. Everything we're going to teach you is proven. You don't have to believe it. You just have to do it. We've distilled it down to a few sets of mechanical processes that if you just approach these things with a fun, playful, explorational, let's see what happens attitude, you'll be astonished at how rapidly these things actually start to work for you. Okay, especially when we start to talk about simple things that on the surface, when you first hear about them, shouldn't work, but when you actually use them in the field, they do. It's always fun for me to get the field reports, right? So let's go ahead and start with getting to know you, getting to know all about you. Sorry, I had a Broadway moment. I'm really excited because my kids just signed up, tried out for the school musical, and they both got lead roles. So I'm excited about that. My theater background, my theater genes have been passed on. So yay to Cassia and Sophia. They won't see this, but it's all right. So first and foremost, if you're a first timer with us, I want you to type your name, where you're checking in from, and what do you most want to be able to do as a byproduct of participating in tonight's webinar. Just type it in and let us know what you want, okay? If you're a veteran of Planet David, you've been bebopping around Planet David for a month, 2 months, a year, 3 years, 4 years. If you're like Seth, read Bart, 100 years, right? More people recognize the back of his head than recognize the front of mine. Go ahead and type your name, how long you've been in Planet David. And the reason I ask that is because for those of you who are brand new to Planet David, right? You expect me to have an agenda beyond just the content of the webinar. You expect me to say, my stuff is the best, you should get my stuff, and all that stuff. Well, I don't want you to listen to me except to learn how to do this stuff. I want you to listen to the people right beside you in the chat. The people who've been using this material for 5, 6, 7, 8 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And for those of you who have been in Planet David for a while, who have real world experience using these materials, when you see a question in the chat that I don't see it because there's a million things running by, or it's not relevant to what we're talking about, if you have an actual real world experience utilizing the techniques to solve the problem or answer the question that these people have, I would ask you to please answer the question. Right? Now, we're not here to spam each other or call each other names. I'm not a persuasion cop. I'm here to empower you. I'm here to teach you the skills and the techniques of ethical influence that you can deploy starting tonight. Okay? So once again, my disclaimer. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offend you, this is not the best use of your time. If the word killer in my title offends you, you are probably not my audience. Okay? We don't vilify words ever, right? And again, that's just, some people get their hackles raised. And this is kind of where, again, we get back to basics. This is about empowerment. This is about moving through the world, creating the life you want, getting the results you want the way that you want it. If you follow the instructions, you'll get the results. If you just watch the webinar and don't do anything, you won't get anything, right? If you don't change what you do, you won't change the results that you get, okay? Second of all, if this is the scope of everything that there is to cover in the field of human influence, we have time for this much. So my commitment, my promise to you is I will take you as far as I can in the time that we have, and I will point you in the direction of where to go to take your skills to the next level. All right? I'm committed to you. I will be here as long as I need to get you the content I want to deliver to you tonight in a way that you can go out and use it and take you to the next level. Is it fair for me to do that? If you think that's fair, go ahead and type that in the chat. Cool. All right. All right, I'm going to begin what I lovingly call the Dr. David Dog and Pony Show in just a minute, but I have a few more administrative things that I want to get out of the way really, really quick. First and foremost, I see you all have questions, you all have comments and things that you want me to answer. Because I have a format that I have to follow, and we're going to do tonight what we call a free-form webinar. What that means is for the first hour and 15 minutes, I am going to deliver the foundations of human influence to you, the most powerful principles that you need to have starting today to start getting more yeses in your life, hearing no's a lot less, and having people like, love, and trust you. Okay, regardless of the situation or circumstance. The techniques I'm going to share with you, believe it or not, are actually universal. They will work in the boardroom, the classroom, the treatment room, the bedroom, the therapy room, the courtroom. They are super powerful. There's no theory here. It's all proven. Okay, I regularly have students pulling down 6- and 7-figure verdicts in juries and trials, getting out of parking tickets, speeding tickets, things of that nature, getting all kinds of dates, sorting and getting high quality, upping their conversion rates by 40, 50, 60%. These are things that are not just possible in my world if you apply these skills the way I teach you. In my world, I believe they're inevitable. But you don't have to believe it. You just got to do it. Okay? So that being said, though I know you're going to have a lot of questions, and where it is relevant, I will answer those questions. So I'm going to, for the first hour and 15 minutes, I'm just going to lay the foundations. Then I'm going to separate out. There is an offer connected tonight. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to take it to the next level. If you want to go and get the full system, then I'll show you how to do that along with some nice bonuses and ways to really get the biggest bang for your buck. Once that's part 2 of this webinar is done, I'm going to circle back and I'm going to pick up where we left off in part 1, and I'm going to continue to teach. I'm going to continue to build on the foundations. I'm going to tailor and customize the content of tonight's webinar so that you get the exact skill sets you need to move your life forward in the way that's relevant to you. So expect for me to, like I said, teach you skill sets and build on that and customize it. So I was going to say something else, but I kind of open loop myself there. For those of you who do want your questions answered, there are 3 ways you can get your questions answered. A, ask it in the chat. If I see it and it's relevant to the point I'm teaching at in the webinar, I'll answer it. Chances are I won't see it though. If you still want your question answered, post it in the chat. My veterans, my Planet David students and certified instructors will happily answer your questions. Okay? If you still aren't satisfied, if you still want more direct input from me at the end of this replay, YouTube will automatically render a version of this webinar and put it on my YouTube channel under the live events tab. If you go to the comments section of that YouTube video and write and type your question in, I always review daily, usually more than once a day, all the questions and comments in the newest videos for about 7 to 10 days, and I make sure to go in and answer all of your questions. So you got 3 ways that you can get your questions answered. Okay, so you guys ready to play? You guys ready to learn some cool stuff? Type yes if you're ready. This is by the way, this is a interactive webinar. The more interactive you are, the more powerfully you will experience this particular information. Okay, all right. So that being said, for the benefit of those of us who are brand new to Planet David, let me just kind of expand my windows here because I've got everything kind of crunched together. I'll just talk. I'll show my PowerPoint. All right, let's go back to this. So, first and foremost, who the heck is Dr. David Snyder, and why should I care? First thing you should know, I am an actual doctor of integrative Chinese medicine. This is a copy of my diploma from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a practicing and licensed acupuncturist since 2005. I have a clinic in Solana Beach, California, where my specialty is treating physiological illness that is caused by repressed emotion. Some people who are therapists and neurolinguistic programmers and things of that nature, hypnotists, they get a lot of smoke cessation and weight loss and things like that. From the very get-go, I started with pain and chronic and intractable pain, and we just kept evolving and dealing with more and more terminal illnesses. And as we delve deeper and deeper into the foundations of these illnesses, we've discovered an emotional component, a memory-based component, that when you dealt with it, their stuff just started to go away. And the science is now starting to prove this. So we have a lot of insight into how the mind manufactures just about everything. But that's not directly relevant to the content tonight, but it is, if you understand how the big picture. So for those, what is most directly relevant to tonight is the fact that in 2020, I was named the #1 NLP Trainer of the Year by globalgurus.org. For the last 5 years, I have been in the top 2 among trainers in the NLP world. In fact, I've actually beaten the founders a couple of times, which did not make me popular with my mentors. But anyway, that's a different story for a different day. I've also authored over 15, actually a lot more now, over 15 different products on various forms of human influence. Everything ranging from, conversational persuasion, conversational hypnosis, to advanced storytelling and metaphor techniques based on neuroscience, behavioral influence technologies, body language, reframing techniques, conversational belief changes, NLP trainings, hypnotherapy, things of that nature. We have a huge library of content that we've created that is all real world, proven, will get you the biggest bang for your buck in the shortest amount of time possible. Tonight's information is drawn directly from one of the most powerful and most popular courses we ever created. In fact, it was one of the very first courses that we created, and it was called Killer Influence. And the reason I bring that up is because in 2020, this is a letter from globalgurus.org, and I'm going to read this to you. It says, "Dear David, it is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by global peers and ranked as the #1 best program for the world in NLP." And you can see that here. And when you click on this link, you can see all the different courses that were in the running. And Killer Influence, once again, was named the best in the world. So this course has stood the test of time. These techniques cut right through the bullshit and get you right into the nuts and bolts persuasion and influence tactics that work pretty much in any situation or circumstance. They're almost impossible to get caught doing, and even if you do get caught doing them, there's nothing bad or malevolent or unethical or tricky to catch. In fact, the people who do catch you will usually wind up signaling themselves as being a little on the skeevy side. And I'll explain why that is as we go in. So one of the things we're going to share with you tonight is the fastest way to hack the human nervous system and create very powerful, very deep, very abiding connections in people that people will fight to keep. How to have people hanging on your every word, and much, much more. Right? But if you really want to get the biggest bang for your buck, okay, Josh is saying, tired of feeling verbally bullied. There's a course we teach called Renegade Reframing and the Art of Conversational Belief Change. That is exactly the course that you need. Okay, and it is an extension of the content that we're going to be covering tonight. So if that's something that is important to you, and believe me, especially now, it is, you want to stay on until tonight. Let's talk about what else we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to go back to my my PowerPoint and just make sure that everybody's up to speed. So again, on the surface, this may not seem relevant. It all will be revealed in just a moment. I have a 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo Karate. I'm a lifelong martial artist. Much of what I have learned in the martial arts, I have translated into the Killer Influence system. They have become principles that have allowed us to take this body of information to a whole new level. I have a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kung Tao, 2nd degree black belt in Kosher Kempo. You can read all that. I have more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. So you can see that there's a lot of energetics, there's a lot of martial arts and strategy training that's going into this. Mind principles, especially from Combat Sistema. Sistema is probably one of the best martial arts for those of us who are interested in influence and persuasion to actually study, because it has more ways to affect and impact a person's nervous system than any other system. And I've studied a lot of them that I've played with. And I love all the martial arts, but something about how they teach in Sistema really, really resonates with people who are into human potentials. Okay, I'm a certified Reiki master and teacher. I've been a Reiki master since before Reiki was cool. I'm an advanced pranic healer and pranic psychotherapist, advanced DNA theta healer, banks in many forms of Qigong, and we have a big training coming up in Costa Rica this May. So that for those of you who are interested in really cool real-world energetics where you can do really cool shit in a short amount of time, you might want to consider coming out. But the big question when people come onto a webinar, especially with me, and I start going through this Dr. David laundry list here, is this. What do all these things have in common? And that's pattern recognition. And what do they have to do with human influence? Well, pretty much everything. You see, everything human beings do has a structure to it. Everything human beings do follows patterns. We are pattern-driven creatures. We have patterns of thinking, patterns of biology, patterns of speaking, patterns of movement. And once you can begin to perceive these patterns and these structures, you can begin to do several things. A, you can begin to predict what's going to happen next, and with a high degree of accuracy. The next thing is you can actually influence those patterns. You can inject information at certain key points in those patterns and cause a predictable deviation because you know the structure. And that brings us back to the next piece. And the final piece is, because you understand structure, if you understand, and we're going to give you the master keys to that tonight. It's actually not hard, as opposed to what many NLPers would have you believe. But once you understand the structure of human thought and how it relates to the structure of human language and behavior, you can begin to communicate in a very precise set of structures that will cause very predictable responses in human beings. And isn't that why you're here? If you think about it, most of us are here to take the randomness out of our life, to have more control in a positive way over our jobs, our love lives, our friendships, our social circles, right? Isn't that really why you're here? And it's okay to own those words like control and power, right? And if those words kind of skeeve you out a little bit, there's some work you need to do. We have classes for that, okay? But this is a class for people who want to take charge, who want the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decades of their life to be different than the first few. And if you want something different, you got to be willing to embrace something different, right? And as long as you are fun and playful and explorational, you will rapidly discover new and powerful ways to take charge of your life and start getting the answers you want and the behaviors you want from people right away, starting tonight. Now, it sounds like a big promise, but you don't got to believe it. You just got to do it. Okay, so let me go ahead and start with, let's go back to the PowerPoint. All right, I'm going to read these to you. If any of these resonate with you, I just want you to type, I want that, or that's for me in the chat. How many of you would like to be super attractive to the opposite sex and maybe even make them find you charming and fascinating and irresistible? If you've liked some of that for yourself or like more of that for yourself, type it in the chat. If you'd like to be able to actually analyze somebody's behavior and in 20 minutes know if they're someone you should slot into the oh hell no category, the acquaintance category, the friends category, the friends with benefits category, the long-term partner category, or the oh let's go get married now category, stay on the webinar. If you want to learn how to do something like that, go ahead and type that in the chat. That is possible for you tonight if you pay attention to the techniques I'm going to be sharing with you. If you'd like to make more money from your job or book more clients for your business or get that raise or promotion you know that you deserve, type I want that in the chat, right? This is for you, okay? If you want to protect yourself, I know, I think it was John or Jay was talking about feeling bullied all the time. If you'd like to learn how to protect yourself from manipulators and easily handle difficult people more easily, if you would like to see them coming before they have a chance to screw up your life, when would now be a good time to type I want that in the chat, right? If you want to have people thinking and feeling and acting the way you want them to and to naturally follow your lead, type I want that in the chat, okay? Sounds like a big ask. Believe it or not, it only takes a few basic techniques learned really, really well to get an 80% turnaround or more in your, 60-80% turnaround or more in your life, right? There's always outliers, right? Nothing is 100%. Nothing works for everybody, but everything works for somebody, right? These have the highest degree of percentage. These are the highest percentage influence techniques I have found. They have made their way into intelligence training, into law enforcement, into sales and marketing, into therapy. They are proven over and over and over again. Okay, if you'd like to be able to have, surround yourself with true, loving friends who are actually authentic and see the real you, this is probably a good place for you to be tonight. Right now, this is not for you if you want to move through the world taking things from people and leaving them a huddled mass of or a dried husk on the side of the road. This is not for the people who are predators. These are the people who are the protectors and the nurturers of the world, who want more of what they deserve in life without having to get over on somebody else. Right? This information will change your life. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about one more thing. My personal promise to you. I'm going to throw this back up on the PowerPoint. My promise to you tonight, my friends, if you stay until the end of tonight's webinar, I'm going to teach you the fastest, most powerful, and ethical way to influence anyone to sometimes obey you for any reason. Okay? Sounds like a lot. Believe me when actually don't believe me. Just learn the techniques, go out and do them, and prove it to yourself. These techniques work in the boardroom, the bar room, the classroom, the treatment room, the bedroom, the courtroom. Pretty much any place human language and human interaction is involved, these techniques get the job done. I'm going to show you in very simple ways that you're not going to believe how to have people hanging on your every word, how to have them literally find you the most fascinating, charismatic conversationalist they've ever experienced. I'm going to teach you how to have them salivating, literally, to do what you want them to do and thank you for the opportunity to do it. I'm going to teach you how to control your emotions and remove resistance to your influence, and actually, depending on which direction you guys decide on tonight, make them actually want to do the things they just told you they did not want to do. And finally, when you stay on to the end of this webinar and you follow all the instructions, I'm going to give you the exact steps you need to go from interesting information to maximum transformation and persuasion in minimum time. That's my promise to you. And like I said before, we're going to talk about the secret backdoor into the human nervous system for unstoppable influence. We're going to teach you the secrets of emotional bonding and attraction, the 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence, and how to remove resistance to your influence, a little known formula for getting people to want to do the things they said they did not want to do. And we're going to teach you how to take control. So if you're ready for that, go ahead and type in the chat, I'm ready, and we'll get into it. I'm still here forever. You guys are funny. All right. Very good. Very good. Now, a lot of you like, when I start to talk, again, I'm going to talk about for about an hour, hour 15, I'm going to give content. I'm going to lay foundations. We're going to, at about the hour 15 minute mark, I'm going to show you the package I put together for you. I'm going to explain that to you. It's going to take anywhere from, 20, 30 minutes. Then we're going to circle back. We're going to pick up with part 1. And for the next 60, 90 minutes, however long it is, I'm going to build on those foundations. I'm going to give you more techniques. We're going to do drills. We're going to get some results. Make sure you have paper. Make sure you have something to write on. These techniques tend to work best when you handwrite them versus when you type them. Typing will still work, but handwriting them is actually better. Okay? So let's go ahead and jump in. So the techniques that we're going to talk about tonight are derived from the CPI/Killer Influence System. CPI stands for Critical Path of Influence. We have a whole training silo devoted to hypnotic languaging called the Conversational Persuasion and Influence Silo. There's 4 levels to it. They both start with the same place. This slide that you're seeing in front of you is known as the Universal Persuasion Protocol. The first thing you need to understand before you begin any form of influence or any form of persuasion is you need to know what it is you want to achieve. You need to know your outcome. Okay? So let me just see if I can mark this here. You got to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, good luck getting anything else. In fact, I don't know if we'll talk about hypnotic language tonight or not. We have some really powerful hypnotic language patterns we can share with you tonight, but that'll be in part 2 of the webinar, or part 3. I'm sorry. You need to know what you want. In many cases, you can't even begin to do hypnotic language until you've set an outcome. Now, your outcome doesn't need to be this big, complicated, egregious, multi-level process that NLP likes to do. In NLP, if this were an NLP class, which it is not, by the way, they would say you need to have keys to an achievable outcome. You need to know if your outcome is ecological, right? So they're going to want to know, is it measurable in sensory-based language? Is it timely? Is it practical? Does it revolve around somebody else doing something that you have no control over? We don't need to know that. What we need to know to set positive outcomes, to set an outcome, to begin the process of influencing, is what we want, and we need some way to know when we're getting it. Okay. Now you can get as complicated or comprehensive in the parameters of that as you want, but at the end of the day, if you want to begin to exert influence, you need to have a goal, right? And that goal could be as simple as getting somebody to like you. It could be as simple as getting somebody to smile at you, and you need to know how you do that, right? And again, that's for you to define. I'm not going to give you those. If you come to Killer Influence, which you'll have an opportunity later on, if you come to Killer Influence training, we'll show you very powerful, comprehensive ways to do that. But for tonight's webinar, you just need to know what you want and how you know you've got it. Does that make sense? Type in the chat. This is the interactive portion of the webinar. Okay, now, quick question. How many of you would like to be up to 31% better at everything? If you would, type it in the chat. Right? Okay. Here's how it works. And there's strategic reasons and there's scientific reasons. All you have to do if you want to be 30% better at everything, is be playful. The studies show that when you adopt an easygoing, explorational, playful mindset and attitude, you are 31% more competent in influence and persuasion. You are 31% more resourceful, 31% more perceptive, 30% more spontaneous, 31% more connective with other people. Now, that particular statistic comes from a very, very easygoing, I'm being facetious when I say it, easygoing, low stakes discipline. It's called hostage negotiation, right? FBI researchers, when studying the effects of attitude and state during hostage negotiations, discovered that when the negotiator themselves was in an easygoing, playful, explorational state, they were 31% of everything I just talked about. And this is what's important for tonight's webinar, their counterpart, the hostage taker, the bad guy, the one who wants $1 million or $1 billion in a plane to some non-extradition country, they were 31% more compliant. And isn't that why you're here tonight? To get more people to do what you want them to do? Yes or yes? Type it in the chat. So think about it. First key tonight is if you want to be 31% more influential across the board. I think the only thing that is more hostile an environment than hostage negotiation is maybe an LA or New York singles bar, which thanks to COVID we can't go to anymore unless we're wearing masks, which is kind of creepy if you think about it. But we'll show you how to change that around too. Okay, so yeah, where was I? I was talking about 31% better at everything, right? So if all you did, if you learned nothing else from tonight's webinar, was to adopt a fun, playful attitude, you would be 31% more influential. Now, here's the thing that I want to put across from you from an interpersonal level. This playful attitude neutralizes people's defensiveness. When you approach people, their reptile brain starts trying to sort you into one of two categories. You're either friend or foe. You're either a stranger or you're somebody they know. When you approach people, and this is especially true for people who have dating applications in mind, when you approach somebody with moist relief on the agenda, whether you're male or female, I don't really care. When you approach somebody with a sexual agenda or a sex on the menu in any way, shape, or form, their mirror neurons pick up that intention and their defenses go up. When you adopt a fun, easygoing, playful energy, the playfulness of it actually lowers their defensiveness. It lowers their unwillingness to interact with you. It doesn't mean they're gonna drop their clothes and jump into bed with you, but it does mean they are far more willing to interact with you. Okay? So there's no place where this fun, playful, easygoing, explorational attitude won't help you. Now, here's a rule that we have in Planet David, and in spite of what NLP likes to teach us or what they like to share with us, I'm going to give you this, and I want you to post it all over your house, anywhere you can. I often joke to my students, I want you to tattoo it inside your eyelids in reverse, so every time you go to sleep at night, it's what you're looking at. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Okay? And now if NLP will, and again, this is not an NLP class. You don't need a background in NLP for any of this to work for you. You just got to do what I tell you to do. Okay? But NLP will tell you that some people are visual, and some people are auditory, and some people are kinesthetic, and some people are olfactory, and some people are gustatory. And believe it or not, even though it's a much smaller percentage, there are olfactory and gustatory people out there. I've met them. I've worked with them. But it can really mess with the people who are not oriented towards that. And there's a strong bias in NLP on VAK. Everyone you meet at the end of the day is a kinesthetic. Every decision they make, every action they take emerges from a feeling and then an action, which are both kinesthetic data points. They're kinesthetic functions or attributes. So many years ago, I kept coming up to this thing over and over and over again about NLP has a concept called decision strategies, which you'll learn about. And there's two versions of that. How many times you have to go through a certain mental process before you reach a decision and you act, and then how many times, what the exact sequence is. But both of them end in a kinesthetic. In other words, you cycle through this process in your brain. In other words, it's a structure that you cycle through a certain number of times, which is a pattern. Your body generates a feeling, and then you act on that feeling. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm trying to really simplify it because we don't need a lot of NLP. We need actual techniques. But do you understand what that means? Is that for everything that you think about, you cycle through it in a certain way a certain number of times, your body generates a feeling, and you act on that feeling. So, here's the fastest way to change anybody's body feelings. Your job actually is to move through the world using these techniques that I'm going to share with you. Your job is to give the person you're seeking to influence the feelings they need to have to take the actions you want them to take. You understand that? That's your job. And everything we have distilled down to this is to give them the feelings, the body feelings that they want to have, so that they will make from their own processes, take the actions you want them to make. Now, what's the fastest way to change another person's body feelings? To change yours first. This goes back to this diagram that I just showed you, called the CPI model, or the Universal Persuasion Protocol. Let me make this just a little bit bigger because I don't know how this comes across on your screen when I share this. So, if you look at the Universal Persuasion Protocol, the first thing that has to happen is we have to control our state. In other words, we have to, and in Planet David, state control is the ability to enter or exit any psycho-emotional state at will in any order or sequence that you want. Then it goes into level 2, which is rapport. And rapport is neurological entrainment. It's the ability to connect with the nervous system of another human being or a group of human beings and transfer that state to them, to create a powerful neurological connection. That information is flowing through, that you control, that you manage, and you manage. And then to use your language to manage their state. You jump into their process, and you link it to their criteria and values. So that's the whole sequence. Now this particular sequence works in any situation or circumstance where language is involved. Let me jump back to you. Let me state that again. The model I just shared with you: control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage the state of the subject, jump into their process, bond to their emotional criteria and values, works any place language is involved. Texting, phone conversations, video chats, emails, sales copy. Any place human language is involved, this process is the formula that you follow. So, how do you figure? Paulina, I'm going to show you that I'm going to teach you the fastest way to hack a person's process in the next couple segments. So just stick with it, okay? Because if you take texting, absolutely, Ian, absolutely. Okay, I know it sounds like, how can that possibly be? Believe me when I say, well, actually, don't believe me. Just do the drills. We'll get the skills. Okay. Now, obviously, I can't teach you every single thing there is in the CPI protocol, right? I can't teach you the entire. I can't drill down. That's why you have 3 and 5 day trainings. We have a full day, our full weekend training on the CPI model, the linguistic aspects of this, in February of 2022 in Orlando, Florida. And if you're interested in that, you can reach out to Stephanie and I'll show you how to do that at the end of the webinar. We also have a 4-day event coming up in April, which is a killer influence training, which goes in a very different direction. Planet David is truly no bullshit. Thank you for that. In fact, last time I went to Australia, one of the ladies down there wanted to put it on a t-shirt. She said, David Snyder, all the shit you need and all the bullshit you don't. Right? And that's what this is about. There's no BS. But here's the thing. Our job as we move through the world is to manufacture the feelings in people that cause them to want to do the things that we want them to do. Now, there are people out there who are very academic, who are very learned, who pride themselves on their logic and on their rationality and their analytical abilities. I don't do that. Yeah, you do. You analyze and you process, and then you get a feeling that is correct, and then you act on it. Okay? The fact that you're overlooking that final step where you have a feeling that it's the right thing to do, it's still there. Okay? Now, where am I at? So, the other thing I want you to understand about this universal persuasion protocol is that it works in a different way. You'll notice over here, we have this target diagram, right? Now, here's why whenever you see the CPI model, the Universal Persuasion Protocol expressed graphically, this is what it looks like. Control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage their state, jump into their process, bond or link to their criteria and values. We're going to talk about this a lot today. The reason this is structured like this, like a target, is because everything on the outside of the circles is global. In other words, they work on everyone who is in your sphere of influence, who is in your line of sight or range of your voice. As you move through to the center of the diagram, each level multiplies the previous level. But, and this is an important distinction, the influence gets progressively more targeted to an individual or specific group of individuals. So the long and short of this is you can take all the skills in the first 3 or 4 levels of this CPI diagram, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking to one person or you're talking to 500 like I am now. Okay? They work. As you move through each of the layers, the layer that comes next multiplies the layer that went before. The influence gets leveraged, but it gets more and more targeted to one individual or a group of people with a specific process in common or a specific set of values in common. So again, you have this amazing flexibility that the Universal Persuasion Protocol gives you. And once you have it, you can use it to write sales copy, you can use it for emails, you can use it in texts, you can use it in voice chat, you can use it in a Zoom call, you can use it in a webinar, any place where verbal or linguistic communication is used. Is there a way to use this against myself? Well, first of all, I would change that word. You don't want to use this against yourself. You want to use this with yourself to create a better outcome. And the short answer is yes, you can. Okay? I want you to stop thinking of the world as your enemy. Because thinking of the world and other humans as your enemy is the fastest way to build neurological firewalls between you and another person. As practitioners of the Universal Persuasion Protocol, the CPI methodology, your job is to facilitate connections with people that they don't want to give up, that cause them to volunteer information to you that they wouldn't normally give you any other way. Okay? And so moving through the world thinking of other people as the enemy actually holds you back. Doesn't mean you can't be strategic or tactical, but it does create an extra layer of resistance in connecting with that person. Does that make sense? I've never really talked about this in any of the webinars I've done. So this is, again, good questions. I do this a little stuff. It's all right to be cynical. You're allowed to be cynical, just don't be stupid, right? If much of the leverage that you have with people is based on the degree of connection, trust, and authenticity that you emanate, doesn't it make sense to become a master of that? Now, there is one particular area of human influence where you don't need a lot of rapport to get compliance. But what you will get, if you utilize it improperly, is passive-aggressive behavior, pushback, and rebellion. And it's called authority. And a lot of people are playing the authority card on you left and right. Now, the best part is, once you become aware of the tactics being leveraged on you, you now have an inoculation against it. Right? So here's another axiom, and you'll learn this in Killer Influence. One of the first things we teach you is anything outside of your awareness is outside of your control. Anything that is outside of your awareness is outside of your control. So my first job as your teacher, as your guide, your mentor on this journey, is to help you become more aware. Aware of yourself, aware of others, their patterns, their processes, their tactics, their strategies, so you have choice. Because without awareness, there is no choice, which brings us to the corollary to the first rule of influence I gave you. Without awareness, there is no choice. Just because you're not aware of something does not mean it isn't affecting you. Just because you're not aware of influence being leveraged upon you does not mean it's not affecting you. The difference is you don't have a choice when it comes to that. Okay, so are we cool so far? Has this been useful? If it's been useful, type it in the chat for me so I know I'm not going off on into la la land. Okay, very good. So this Universal Persuasion Protocol, I want you to write this down. If you need to take a screenshot, go ahead. But I want you to repeat this out loud with me 4 or 5 times. First thing you're going to do, any persuasion interaction you're into, the first thing you're going to do is determine your outcome. Second thing you're going to do, control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage the state of the subject. Jump into their process. Bond to their criteria and values. Okay, let's do that again a couple more times because I want to make sure you've got it. Know your outcome. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage the state of the subject. Jump into their process. Bond to their criteria and values. One more time with feeling. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage the state of the subject. Jump into their process. Bond to their criteria and values. Okay? If you haven't written it down, go ahead. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to take a screenshot. Okay? And if anybody has any questions on this, I will. And again, if you want the full training, I'll show you how to get that. We're going to drill down on a few key elements from the Killer Influence system tonight. Okay. Let me look at the chat, see if there's any quick questions I can answer. Could you expand a little bit about the awareness piece? I need some clarification. Yes. There's an old saying that my instructor, my kinesics and interview and interrogation instructor, Danny Johnson, used to say. And I don't know where he got it, but I got it from him, and so I credit him with this this particular quote. It goes something like this. If I know you better than you know me, I can influence you. Let me repeat that first part. If I know you better than you know me, I can influence you. Second part. If I know you better than you know yourself, I can control you. If I know you better than you know yourself, I can control you. And my friends, regardless of your political leanings, whether you're left-wing or right-wing, Democrat or Republican, libertarian, independent, agnostic, I don't care. What is going on for the past 24 months around the world has been a group of very powerful, highly placed individuals exerting this kind of influence on you. Because they understand human behavior, they understand the negativity biases and the fear and the security-oriented consciousness of the average human being, and they are using it on you. The only reason some of you are even aware of it is because they've overused it. But some of you haven't realized the scope with which this is being leveraged on you. My job, first and foremost, is to give you the awareness of it and show you what's being done so you can have a choice. Okay? Does that make sense? I want you to have choice, right? I call our group free thinkers because we challenge everything. That's why I say you don't have to believe anything I'm teaching you. Just do it. It either works or it doesn't. And by the way, if what we do doesn't work for you, find something that does, right? Everything works for somebody. Nothing works for everybody, right? But have fun with it. Go out and play. You don't have to believe it. Just follow the instructions with a playful, explorational attitude and decide if it's worth your time or not to invest in, okay? All right, so let's go into how to hack the human nervous system in some really powerful and ethical ways. So remember, I told you at the beginning of the training, everything human beings do is in response to a feeling, right? And a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Now the question was asked, how do we get their process? How do we jump into their process? Well, there's several different ways that we do that. And what's cool about the techniques we're about to jump into is that these techniques all jump into their process in a very simple way without actually having to get complicated about it. And so the first thing I'd like to teach you about is the secret passcode. I'm going to give you a choice. We can talk about the secret passcode to the human nervous system, or we can talk about the fastest way to get anybody to do what you want them to do. Which would be easier for you? Both. All right, if you had to pick one, which would you pick first? We're going to do both, by the way. Passcode? Okay. Now, when I teach this to you, you're going to be like, you have got to be kidding me. That cannot possibly work. You're right. Go out and test it. Prove me wrong. Okay? So let me jump to my PowerPoint. So what I'm going to share with you, first and foremost, and by the way, each of these techniques feeds into the next technique. So there's a progression to it, right? So the building blocks of everything we're going to do is called the echo technique. And write this piece down. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment, and it's not their name, believe it or not. The most powerful words that any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. Let me repeat that. The most powerful words that any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. Okay? How do we do that? Right now, here's what's weird, is when you actually do this, you are going to rapidly become the most fascinating conversationalist they've ever met. You're the only person other than the KGB who understands manipulation of the population? Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, trust me, my good friend Chase, who was one of the top mind control experts for the government, understands it pretty well too. But he's had a lot of KGB people on his trainings. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. And again, very Chris Voss. At some point, actually, Robert, yes, Chris actually did come out with his version of it. I did it in 2006. Anyway, how does that apply to copywriting? Brent, great question. It applies to copywriting because if you look at the exact verbiage that people use when they describe their problem, that is the exact verbiage they respond to in sales copy. Akira says, you don't have to be subtle with the echo technique. It's that powerful. Absolutely right. So you guys ready to learn this? You guys ready to practice? Yes or yes? Cool. All right. Let's jump in. All right. Here we go. This is the one thing that you need to understand is that attention is the currency of relationships. Let me be clear about that. You know, if you go to I'm good friends with Chase. We collaborate. He's in my bibliography. I'm in his. You know, one of the things we both agree on is that attention is the key to influence. The more attention you can get from a human being, the more bandwidth you take up in their system, the more easy it is to influence them either ethically or unethically. Again, I'm not a persuasion cop. I'm going to tell you right now that it is never necessary to use these techniques in an unethical way. It's too easy to get what you want by being ethical. Okay? But this technique, bar none, is the most powerful way to get the maximum attention from another human being in minimum time. It's called the echo technique. It's the most powerful way to communicate with a human being because it literally forces a person's neurology to exclusively pay attention to you. There's this phenomena that's known in the combatives in the military circles called an OODA loop. Or they often refer to it as an OODA loop. OODA. OODA stands for observe, orient, decide, act. When you hit somebody with their very own words, it literally causes their entire neurology to orient on you to the exclusion of everything else. It's very similar to, how many of you have ever been at a party and there's lots of noise going on and you're off in one corner and somebody mentions your name and you turn around and look and they're across and you don't even, among all the noise and all the chaos of the party, somebody said your name in a conversation and you automatically just turned and looked. Anybody ever have that experience? Okay. What happened there? It's because your subconscious mind, your autonomic nervous system is below the threshold of conscious awareness. Your unconscious mind is always scanning the environment for things relevant to itself. Now, when you communicate with another human being, the words that come out of your mouth have been filtered and edited and reorganized until they are a perfect match or perfect fit for every level, from the things you want most at the reptilian level, to the heart level, to the brain, to the conscious mind level. So what comes out is a perfect key to lock fit to every level of your nervous system. Does that make sense? Think of a person's nervous system as having a key and a lock, and the words that you give them are like putting that key in that lock. Charles Carroll says, the echo technique saved my marriage. Thank you, David. You are very welcome, Charles, and thank you for sharing that with us. Testify, my brother. Testify. Right? Much better than reflective listening. It is 1,000% better than reflective listening, because the one thing the echo technique does better than anything else is eliminate the possibility of error. It eliminates the possibility of mistranslation. And that is where all of our communication problems tend to come from. Miscommunication. You see, words are like arrows, my friends. The moment you speak words, you know what your intention and what your meaning of all those words are, but the person that you're sending them to doesn't. They literally have to reconstruct your meaning from their own resources, and depending on their state, depending on their belief systems, depending on the associations they've made to those words, it will send them off in a completely different direction. That's why if you've ever studied NLP, there's this little pithy saying they like to give you. And by the way, even though I love NLP, I'm very critical of a lot of the way it's taught and a lot of the way that material is taught. If you really want to, to err as human, to really complicate things, you need a neuro-linguistic programmer. But at the end of the day, NLP would like to say to you, the meaning of any communication is equal to the response that you get. In other words, When you speak to somebody, it doesn't really matter what you mean, functionally speaking. What matters is how they interpret what you said. So a lot of our miscommunication comes from this translation error. The fastest, most direct way to make sure there is zero mistranslation, there is an exact match to the meanings the person has to the conversation you're having, to use their words as close to the order and sequence as possible. Let me say that again. The fastest, most direct way to activate the entirety of a person's neurology, to get them completely focused, oriented on you, and signal to them that they have been heard, understood, accepted, and validated, is to use their exact words. This is the power of just using the words that just came out of their mouth. Let me go through my notes here, and then we'll do a couple of demos. Okay, so here's what happens. If you hate making small talk, this is going to be the biggest life-saving technique you've ever known. How many of you people are like me, who, like, when you're around somebody who has similar interests, like, you can talk about shit all day long, but the minute you get around strangers or in situations, circumstances that you don't know anybody or you don't know the topic, you just kind of don't want to talk? Anybody have those experiences? Go ahead and type it in the chat. It's okay. Yeah, okay? This eliminates that. If you've ever wanted to be able and have them hanging on your every word, this will do it. You see, what happens, one of the byproducts or the side effects of using a person's very own words is it triggers such a powerful orienting effect from the nervous system that the person starts to elaborate on the things they just heard you say. In other words, even though it just came out of their mouth, they feel like you truly heard them, like you truly understand what they say, and they want to elaborate. So, one of the first side effects that happens when you start echoing someone's words is they start talking more. They literally start running off at the mouth, right? And the best part about this is the longer they talk, the more attracted and connected to you they get. Okay? This particular process sends powerful signals of sameness to the listener. It causes them to become progressively more connected, attracted, and positively disposed towards you. In fact, one of the things we often warn our students about when we teach them this technique, first of all, we tell them to go practice on people who can't escape, like waitresses, bartenders, things of that nature. But we also say, be respectful. And here's why. When you start using a technique like the echo technique on a waitress or a bartender or whatever, they will like you. They will feel connected to you. They will want to give you more and more of their attention. If they have other customers, they may get in trouble because they're giving all of their attention to you. It's not uncommon for our people to get lots of free desserts, little bonuses here and there, to get people chatting for 15, 20 minutes and the other people are waiting for their food. So again, don't believe me, talk to the people in the chats. These are things that happen a lot when you congruently echo people, right? Here's the other thing. This is the most ethical, honest, and desirable way for one human nervous system to communicate with another. That's because this technique does in fact send such powerful signals of sameness to another human being. They tend to bond with you very, very quickly. And they see any loss of attention from you as physical pain. So they will do whatever they can do to be with you, to be in your glow, so to speak. Right? It also tends to match, and this is going back to the question of process. One of the things that I talked about earlier was human beings have filters, and again, we're not going to spend all the time on these filters, but we have filters about your values, you have filters about your meta programs, of the things you pay attention to first. When you give, and the order and priority of those processes come out in the structure of your language. NLP calls it a syntax. When you give somebody their exact words in the exact order and sequence that they spoke them, you match every single process they have. One technique can cover 6 to 7 separate processes that NLP would want you to utilize independently. So like I said, cut through the BS. Get to the technique that works. What gives you the biggest bang for your buck? Use their words. The most powerful words any human being can hear are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Are we cool on that? Are we clear? Go ahead. I need to know you're with me. Okay, good. All right. And we're going to keep coming back to this idea of filters, because the deeper you can get into somebody's emotional being, their emotional belief systems, the more leverage you have over them. So your job, believe it or not, my friends, is to move through the world making everyone you meet feel ridiculously good and showing them how to get whatever they want by doing what you want. Is that fair? Is that ethical? How do you do it? Great question, Penny. Let's talk about this really quick. We're going to go through the ECHO technique. Then we're going to talk about the emotional bonding checklist. We're going to go into the offer we have planned for today. Then we'll circle back and pick up where we left off. Does that sound like a fair deal? Type if you think that's fair, type it in. Cool. All right. So how do we do this technique? All right. There's a formula I want you to follow. Whatever they say, you want to acknowledge what they said. So let me see if I can find. This is called the master echo sequence. So you might want to take a screenshot of this. How does it work? In normal everyday conversations, you go up to somebody, you break the ice, however you do it, you ask them a question. Right? Now we have a process called 3 magic questions, which we use for dating, but it can also be used for client intakes, prospecting, things of that. This works deadly in any form of networking meeting. So if you've got these network functions and everybody's just forcing their card down your throat, or you're trying to force your card down their throat, and you want to make sure that they actually like you and remember you and want to work with you, this is where you start. Everything that we're going to build on in segment 3 comes from this. This is the most powerful technique you can learn today. It's the simplest, it's the easiest to apply. Everything else is an extension of it. This is called the master echo sequence. So how does this work? You ask them a question. You ask them a question. You pay attention to the response they've given you. You validate it. You echo the exact words they said. You ask another question. So let's repeat that a few times. You ask your question. You pay attention to the response. You validate the response that you got. You echo what they said. You ask again. So, explain, validate. Very good. You guys are asking all the right questions. To validate something means to signal 2 things. A, that you acknowledged what they said and you approve of it. That you have acknowledged what they said in a way that signals acceptance and approval. Human beings are validation-seeking machines. Okay? So when you ask your question and you're paying attention to them, by the way, the echo technique will force you to pay bigger and greater attention to a person than any other technique. At the end of a 20-minute conversation, you will know more about that person and they will feel more connected to you in those 20 minutes than they do to people they've known 20 or 30 years. Don't believe me? Go out and play with it. Anybody who's had experience, go ahead and type your experiences in the chat for people. Okay? So, back when I showed you at the beginning of the webinar, can we pair you up in practice? Not in a webinar format, we can't. I can't do breakouts during a webinar. But if you get into our mastermind programs or things like that, you will absolutely have the opportunity to practice these things. Great questions. You guys are really enthusiastic. I like that. I really like that. So, what's the sequence? Ask your question, pay attention to the response, validate the response, echo their words, ask another question. Michael, is it Michelle or Michael? I don't know if that's a hard C or not. I'm about to share it with you. So when I was saying at the beginning of the webinar, I showed you my credentials, right? And I showed you all these martial arts credentials and things like that, right? And back when I had my karate school in Coral Springs, Florida, this was how I would actually recruit a lot of my students. It would go something like this. Ring, ring. Good afternoon, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Oh, hi, David. My name's Brenda, And I'm interested in karate lessons for my 10-year-old son Josh. Hey Brenda, how you doing? Great to hear from you. So you're interested in karate lessons for your 10-year-old son Josh? Yeah. Now it sounds funny, but that's exactly what they do. It's like you read their mind, but you didn't, right? They say, so tell me about what's important to you about karate lessons for your 10-year-old son Josh, Brenda. Well, David, Josh is a really sweet kid. He's really great. He's really, really smart, but he's kind of small for his age. In fact, that's why I'm calling, is because he's so smart. His teachers decided to move him ahead a grade, and I'm kind of worried because there's going to be a higher level of schoolwork, but he's small for his age, and I'm worried that the kids might pick on him. And I heard that martial arts and karate was a great way for kids to get more self-confidence and self-esteem and develop focus and things of that nature. Oh, I see, Brenda. So Josh is a really sweet kid. He's really smart. In fact, he's so smart that his teachers moved him up a grade, and you're concerned that, in addition to the curriculum being a little harder, that the kids might actually, pick on him because he's small. Absolutely, David. Do you think that martial arts would be a good way to do it? Brenda, I think martial arts would absolutely be a great way to do it. In fact, one of the things that martial arts is known for, especially where children are concerned, is the ability to generate that ability to concentrate and to focus and to stand up for themselves and to defend themselves against larger, bigger people. So as a byproduct of Josh's training, he'll naturally be able to concentrate better, he'll be able to focus, he'll be able to stand up for himself, he'll have more confidence, and he'll really excel in his schoolwork as a result of doing that martial arts training. So, just so I understand you better, if we could get you all those things for Josh, how would you feel about moving forward with that? Oh my God, that would be amazing. Can you really do all that? Absolutely. In fact, you can come in and try it out. We have 2 slots available. We have a special program for kids like Josh who want more confidence and focus and who want to be able to protect themselves against larger opponents and things of that nature. We don't like to call them opponents, but bullies are bullies, and it comes with 2 free private lessons in a group class and a free t-shirt. We have a slot available today at 6:30, or we also have one tomorrow at 5:45. Which time slot would be better for you? Oh, let me see. I think I can move some things around. Would today be okay? I can probably bring him in at 6:30 after each dinner and maybe get some of his homework done. Perfect, Brenda. I'm going to pencil you and Josh in for today at 6:30, and we will see you tonight. Let me just take some information. We'll get you going. You having a great day. Talk to you soon. Boom. 9 out of 10 people, 8 out of 10 people show up just like that. Right? That's it. Can you reverse it? What do you mean, can you reverse it? I don't know what that means. Okay. Now, if you're doing this in a dating context, like in 3 Magic Questions protocol, which you'll learn in Killer Influence, you might ask them, so I'm curious about something. What do you do for a living? Right? What do oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, you're an accountant. That's amazing. So I'm curious. I know a lot of people who've in an accounting, but I never really understood. I have an allergy to numbers, so I'm curious, just so I understand you better. What do you love about being an accountant? Oh, well, I just love making things fit. I love making them make sense. Oh, so you that's really cool. So you like making things work. You're kind of like a detective when it comes to that. You like to make things work and make things make sense. Yeah, absolutely. And I really love when everything just falls into place and I can solve a problem. Get it? You see how it starts to open people up? Right? So again, what's the sequence? Ask your question, pay attention to the response, validate the response, echo the words back, ask another question. Now, if you go back over the replay and you go back over the demos, you will see largely that structure in everything I'm doing. As you continue to work on these processes, you're going to discover that 80% of what you say literally comes out, and not just for echo technique, but even the other things that we're going to be sharing with you. 80% of what you said comes out of the other person's mouth. This completely eliminates the need to be a master of conversation. It eliminates the need to be creative, because creativity is what gets you screwed up, believe it or not. This is the fastest way to become the most fascinating, charismatic, connection facilitating human being on the planet. And here's the best part. Here's the best part that I love about this. It is the exact way that God, universe, nature designed human beings to experience the greatest degree of fulfillment from communicating verbally. It is the most ethical, honest, and desirable way to communicate with another human being. Right? Now, for those of you who wonder about the ethics of this, A, a tool is only as ethical as the person using it. I'll put that out there. But this is the big one. Let's pretend for a moment, shall we, that you had the secret to making any single person that you communicate with feel heard, understood, accepted, respected, and liked. That created massive connection with them. Right? And you deliberately chose not to use it. If you deliberately chose not to use it, who's the asshole now? Think about it for a moment. Think about it for a moment. If you knew the exact way to make somebody feel the way they've always wanted to be felt in an ethical, honest way, and you deliberately chose not to do it. Exactly right. So you guys are getting it, right? Once I figured this out, I couldn't not do it. I mean, I couldn't not do it, to use double negative. Okay? And for those of you who know me, who've spent time with me, you know I use this constantly. Constantly. It's become a natural part of the way I speak. But it didn't start that way. It didn't start that way. You will feel when you first start utilizing this technique like everybody knows what you're doing. It's called the spotlight effect. Spotlight effect means anytime you deviate from something that is organically the way you naturally do something, you start to feel self-conscious and assume that because you know you're doing something different, everyone around you knows it too. Not true. The only person who knows you did something different is you. Now, how many of you, I know a lot of you are new to Planet David, right? But how many of you have watched some of my earlier videos where I'm doing this technique on people in the audience and they have no clue I'm using it on them, even after they just said it wouldn't work? All right? There's literally 20 or 30 videos on my channel where I'm doing this all the time because people call me on this all the freaking time. Right? And I don't do it to make fun of the people. I do it to prove a point. That even when you're scanning for it, even when you know this technique, depending on how you set it up, it just works. Right? So you don't have to believe this. It doesn't matter if the person you're doing it with knows the technique. Chances are they're not scanning for it. Why? Because they're not conscious of it. All right? But here's the best part. If you know that this is the most ethical, honest, desirable way to communicate with somebody, and they notice you're echoing their words back, what do you have to say? Well, I just want to make sure I understand you better. Is that okay? Is it okay for me to communicate in a way that makes us feel really connected and understood? Now, if they say no, who has the problem? What person in their right mind is going to do that? Somebody with an agenda. Right? Somebody who may not be having your best interests at heart, maybe. Right? Somebody who sees the world in terms of the manipulations. Right? But there's nothing to be caught at because you're doing everything that nature has said is the right way to communicate. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I really want to kind of get this, right? So when people call you on it, the only way that it becomes a bad thing is if you stop doing it. Because if you stop doing it as a result of something they've said, you're agreeing to their reality. You're agreeing to their meaning of what you're doing, and it's not the case. In fact, a lot of people from an NLP background will say if you start mirroring people and they catch you, it'll piss them off if you keep doing it. No. That'll last for about 35, 40 seconds, and then they'll forget you're doing it again. We've tested this over and over again. All right? So when we come back, actually we're going to do one more thing. Is that okay? One more thing before we jump into the offer we put together for you? Okay. So remember that everything human beings do is in response to a feeling, right? It's a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. What we're going to do now is we're going to give you an experience of tapping into a person's emotional center. This is called the emotional bonding checklist. Okay? And this is something that I teach pretty much in every webinar. And the reason for that is because people have a set of rules that they use to define what is right and desirable and proper in their world. It forms the building block of their identity. And anytime you can get somebody interacting with you from an identity level, you gain the maximum leverage over every aspect of themselves. So here's what, and so in this particular context, we're learning to influence others, but we're going to do this as a self-exercise first. Then we're going to circle back around and show you, based on the demo we did previously, how to leverage this in sales, marketing, relationships, things of that nature. Does that sound like a plan? Can we do that? Go ahead and type in chat. That's okay. Okay, perfect. All right. So for this exercise, what you're going to need to do is you need to get out a piece of paper. I'm going to throw up a template on the screen for you. Okay. So can you all see this template right here? All right. So you might want to take a screenshot of this just for your records if you can. Okay. So at the beginning of today's webinar, I asked you a question. I asked, what is it you want to be able to do as a byproduct of the training and the techniques you're getting on this webinar? I asked you to think about that. I want you to stop for a moment. Now, if you're doing this while you're driving, you need to stop. All right. I don't want you doing this while you're operating heavy machinery. I don't want you to do it while you're driving or doing anything that involves your undivided attention, right? If you want to participate in this particular process, pull off to the side of the road, find a parking lot, turn the car off, put it in park, put the emergency brake on, what have you, so you can do this. But I want you to go ahead and take a moment, close your eyes, and imagine you've gone through this webinar, you've followed all my instructions, you've done what I've asked you to do, you've got these techniques now, and you're going out into the world to get what you came here to learn how to get. I want you to stop for a moment and imagine having it. And I want you to see what you see and hear what you hear and smell and taste what you smell and you taste. Because when you do that, when you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's a feeling that you get. And I want to know what that feeling is, and or what that series of experiences are. And I want you to answer this question. What's important about it? What's important about getting it for you? Like if you got the results you came here to learn how to get, what's important to you about that? And write that answer down. Whatever words pop up, I want you to write them down exactly as they came up in your unconscious mind. And if you got those things, you achieved the results you came here to learn how to get, what would that do for you? Write your answer. So again, going back to our template, this was our visualization. We wrote our answer about what's important about it. Imagine we had it and we got that. What's important about that? And then ultimately, if you got this, if you got that second layer, what would that do for you? You don't got to, by the way, you don't have to share this in the chat. These are all your own personal answers. It's nice that you are, and we might go back and use those as some examples later. So what's important about the thing you came here to get from the webinar? If you got that, what would be important about that? And then what's important about that? So you want to go down about 3 levels with this. Now, here's how you know you're doing it right. If, as you go down these levels, you're getting more and more emotional, like Tenerife is saying, it will save my me, whatever that is, right? It will save me, right? That's a deeply emotional experience, right? So you should have 3 levels of information you've accumulated, right? You have level 1, level 2, level 3, okay? Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to stand up. I want you to take that paper in your hand. And And as you think about everything we're giving you on this webinar and all the things I want you to do and the things you need to do to get this result, I want you to look at what you wrote specifically. And I want you to read them out loud 5 times. Just read them out loud 5 times for you. And when you've done that, go ahead and type what you wrote, or type what happened to you in the chats. I'll wait. Being fearless. Okay, cool. You see here. Let me just look at the chat and make sure. Okay, so everybody's done? Yes. Happiness, love. Okay. How many? What did you notice when you read those things out loud? What did you notice when you read those things out loud? Physical response, okay. Tinglies, right? Now, imagine you could do this for any single person you want to get them to want to do what how motivated are you to do these things for yourself now? How motivated are you to go after it? Type in the chat your level of motivation and desire for it now. What if you could do this with every single person you meet? With every person you interviewed for with a job, with every person that you wanted to go out on a date with or you wanted to date you, with every person that was a potential prospect, client, or student. This is where we're going when we come back from part 2. Okay, but I needed you to feel it first. Because again, in other contexts and other webinars, we use this as a personal motivation tool. But in influence training, when we're going out into the world to exert our power, we need the ability to find out what people really want and link it to exactly what we offer them. And that's what we're going to cover when we come back from going over our offer and you guys decide which direction you want to go. Does that sound like a fair trade? Yes or yes? Beautiful. All right, so without further ado, let me ask you a question. Who wants to take things to the next level? Type yes in the box. It's part of the presentation, I have to do it. Cool. You guys rocking this. You guys are rocking this. Okay, cool. With your permission, I'd like to tell you about the Killer Influence Secrets of Covert Hypnosis Deluxe Behavioral Mastery Home Study Course. This is an absolute mega package that we put together for you. I'm proud of all my packages because we designed them all for you to get the biggest bang for your buck from the comfort of your own home and, as is often the case, in the room with us. But we put this together for you. The techniques that we've shared with you are part of the entire system, and this is the entire system that will take you to master of influence in the shortest amount of time possible. What is it? It's all about learning how to make more money, close more deals, get more dates, help more people, feel more confident, be more powerful in your life, to win on your terms, to take the randomness out of your life, to become automatically more charming, charismatic, and irresistible. So here's what we put together. Now this offer does January 5th, 2022. That is today, 11:59 p.m. Pacific. So if you have to jump off, again, you might want to reach out to Stephanie, at least get your name in the queue if you want to take advantage of this. Okay. So what does that the Killer Influence Deluxe Behavioral Mastery Home Study Course include? It includes this 27 videos, only a part of which are the 7-stage Universal Persuasion Protocol formula. This is going to teach you how to think like a master influencer. It's a $297 value. How to control your psycho-emotional state at will in any situation or circumstance so no one else can do it for you. Remember at the beginning of the lecture, or the webinar, I told you that you want to first control your state and then link to another person's nervous system so you can transmit those emotions back and forth. We will teach you step by step how that works. You will test it, you will train it, you will drill it, you'll be able to do it. $297 value. Right? It is the closest thing to a Jedi power that we teach. We're going to teach you power rapport skills for connecting with anyone, anytime, anywhere. In fact, this could actually be its own product in and of itself, because classical NLP teaches you one type of rapport. We're going to teach you three. We're going to teach you how they work, what the differences are, and why you need to use a certain type of rapport in certain contexts. For example, if you use classical NLP style rapport from Ericksonian hypnosis or NLP in a dating context, you'll wind up in the friend zone faster than McDonald's makes hamburgers. You need a special kind of rapport we call vibing in order to generate romantic and sexual chemistry that causes people to want to be romantically involved with you. We'll teach you the mechanics of doing that. We'll teach you about kinesthetic rapport, which is literally like two Bluetooth syncing up. It's a deep level neurological entrainment that causes your heartbeats to synchronize, your hemispheres of your brain to synchronize, and you can literally do empathic, telepathic projections back and forth. It's really, really cool. So we'll teach you classical rapport, we'll teach you this kinesthetic rapport, and we'll teach you the vibing skills. We'll teach you how to actually leverage that into what we call metaframes. Metaframes are the ability to take on a certain type of persona that emanates and creates a platform for irresistible persuasion. It causes a person's mirror neurons to perceive you in a way where they become absolutely connected and compliant and charismatically drawn to you. We're going to teach you the most powerful, irresistible hypnotic language patterns that exist. What if you had the power to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of your listeners or readers, even if those two things have nothing in common? What could you do with a power like that? What could you do if you had the ability to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your listener, even if those two things had absolutely nothing in common with each other? There's two patterns that will do that for you. What if you could force a person's internal mind movies and mental pictures and the structure of their thoughts to be exactly what you describe with zero error of mistranslation? We'll show you how to do that. What if you could literally force a person to pay attention to exactly the things you wanted them to pay attention to automatically begin unconscious processes without them even realizing they're doing it, and have them focus only on the things you want and to the exclusion of everything else? There's one pattern that works so powerfully, even when you know it's being done, you can't resist it. That pattern, that whole system there is $297. It's actually a whole lot more. If you've seen my 21 Most Powerful Words in the English Language video, you get a little bit of an idea of what these patterns can do. We're going to give you the full training. What if you could manage the emotional states of others so precisely, so consistently, so irresistibly, that they simply just want to do the things you want them to do? If they feel bound, trusting, loving, connected to you, we're going to show you how to do that. It's a $297 value. If you could hack someone's internal behavior codes, that you knew exactly what steps to take, how to present it to them in the way that they would most be willing to accept the things you want them to do in a way that's natural for them, we'll show you how to do that. It's a $297 value. What if you could so emotionally, powerfully bond to another person's deepest desires that they would literally salivate to do what you wanted them to do? That's part of tonight's training, but this is just part of the first seven videos that you're going to be playing with in the Killer Influence Deluxe Behavioral Mastery program. Plus, we're going to include a 240-page manual. This is the Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto. It's a $418 value. Plus, you're going to get access to our members-only online community with over 210 active members. So you get to practice, and I'll elaborate more on that as we go. Total value for this particular package is $2,497. But if you've been around Planet David for any length of time, because it's the new year, and I want every single one of us to get in the game and start making our world the world we want instead of the one that's being forced on us, we've added a few more things. There's a few more things I've added to this program that I think is going to help you move your life forward in the most powerful, unstoppable way possible. So if you're one of the first 27 people to sign up tonight, you will also get these exclusive special free bonuses. These are freaking nuclear. First thing you're going to get, this is one of my newest creations. This is called Defense Against the Dark Arts, Behavioral Profiling and Psychosocial Self-Defense Skills Certification Bootcamp. This is a $1,997 value. And what we've done with this course is we've taken things from the Killer Influence curriculum that are not normally emphasized and created an entire different approach. This particular course will teach you all about how to read body language, detect lies, understand the personality profiles of social predators, how to spot narcissists, how to spot sociopaths, psychopaths, Machiavellians. It's going to teach you the exact strategies that these people use to ensnare you, to mentally and emotionally bind you to them and take advantage of you. It's going to teach you the 5-phase psychology of attraction protocol that these people use, how you can recognize it, how you can adapt it, and turn the tables on these people. You'll literally see people role-playing sociopaths and narcissists and turning the tables on them using some very powerful sleight of mouth patterns and things of that nature. You'll learn how to keep yourself from being sucked back in to these relationships after you've managed to extricate yourself from them. The technical term for this is called hoovering, where they literally have like 5 to 7 different behavioral techniques that they use to try and guilt you, con you, manipulate you to restore the relationship if you are able to get out of it. We're going to teach you step by step what those look like, what they sound like. You'll be able to role play them so you understand them from the inside and out. We'll teach you the 21 different defense tactics and reframe tactics that sociopaths and narcissists use to try to escape the blame and the consequences of their actions. If you want to learn how to get inside the head of these predators and fight back in the most powerful way imaginable, this is the course that will do that for you. It's literally less than 12 months old. We just taught this not too long ago. People love it, and each time we do it, it gets better and better and better. This will give you the psychological skills that you need to be able to protect yourself. $1,997. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Total combined value between the Killer Influence program and this, $4,487 when you register now before the end of the webinar. But we're not going to stop there. We're also going to include Renegade Reframing. This is one of my favorite classes of all time. You have to have the Universal Persuasion Protocol under your belt before you can start playing with this. Renegade Reframing, how to overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds. This is based on a series of old NLP patterns known as sleight of mouth. Sleight of mouth was discovered by Robert Bandler, training his NLP master practitioner students and practitioner students in the Milton model and things, or the meta model and things of that nature. What Richard would do is he would state a limiting belief or a crazy belief, and then he would challenge his students to try and break apart and attack that belief system. And every time the student would try to meta model, which is another way of breaking apart beliefs, he would use one of these 14 patterns to just completely put them into a state of confusion, overwrite and change their belief systems, and justify his beliefs. These are so powerful that the minute you use them, you can, Robert Dilts, you can literally destroy a person's belief system and change those limiting beliefs in seconds. If you apply them to yourself, you write down, we do this in personality transformation and self-mastery supercharger. We use these same reframe patterns. You write down your limiting beliefs and you start hitting that belief with one of these patterns, and one of them will change the belief to the point where you see it from a different perspective and you have these spontaneous belief changes. Okay. The nice thing about Renegade Reframing is we've dramatically simplified these 14 patterns. We've made it fun, and we've gamified it. We've allowed it. We put a card game with it. We've given you templates to practice and follow. So anyway, there's people that are misbehaving in the chat, so maybe somebody wants to do something about that. Anyway, so Renegade Reframing, think about it for a moment. What if you had, for any limiting belief or objection to your process or your promotion or your pitch, for lack of a better word, that you encounter, what if you had at least 14 different ways to overcome that objection? All right? This is one of the most powerful ways that you can do that. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Total combined value is $6,484. Okay? But wait, there's more. For those of you who have romance and amour for the new year on the mind, we're going to include one of our classic courses. This is called Speed Attraction, Rapid Attraction Secrets from Dating, Mating, and Relating Home Study Course. It's a $1,497 value. It's an adaptation of the CPI system to specifically teach you how to control your emotional state, radiate confidence, attractiveness at will, to understand the psychology and body language of attraction so that you can go out into the world and generate attraction and deeper levels of connection and rapport in anyone you meet. It's going to teach you the 3 magic questions protocol that creates irresistible connection chemistry in as little as 20 minutes. Whether you're male or female does not matter. It'll also teach you how to profile people so you can figure out if they're the kind of person you want in your life or someone you want to slide into the hell no category. Right? We're going to eliminate blocks to your dating, mating, and relationship success, and so much more. This course has been one of our most popular courses. It's been around for a little while, so it's a $1,497 value. You will literally see people in this particular class coming in the day after each day of training and reporting what happened when they went out in the field. It'll blow your mind. Okay, total value is a $1,497 value. Combined with everything else, it's $7,981 in total value. If you wanted to buy these things from the website, which you can. Now we're also going to include, for those of you who are more business oriented, and I would like all of you to go out and use these skills to make as much money and have as much fun and have as big and fulfilling life as humanly possible. We're going to include one of my favorite courses. This is called Stealth Selling Secrets, Sales and Interview Success Home Study Course. This was a special breakout that we did during one of our Killer Influence and CPI courses with my good friend, the late James Situ. In fact, this is one of the reasons I'm actually promoting this particular class with this package, is because James passed away several months ago as a side effect of the COVID vaccines he was taking. And this particular class has stood the test of time. James is an amazing instructor. And in this class, you'll literally learn how to use the CPI emotional bonding process and frame control secrets to emotionally bond people to your product or service, to literally win any job interview, even if you're not the best candidate. In fact, you'll actually see this done live. You'll actually see one guy, his name was Chris Van Denberg. He was a pharmaceutical salesman. And he doesn't mind when I talk about this because he started as a staunch opponent of this, and by the end of the class, he couldn't speak enough of it. You'll literally see Chris challenging everything that we're doing in class, and you'll literally see us using the CPI techniques, the reframe techniques, and the emotional bonding checklist to actually flip him. He became one of the most powerful proponents of this. He literally went out and got job interviews. He just had the worst luck in history of picking the jobs he was going for, because every time he got hired, within a few months, the company downsized and he had to go out and find another job. But by the 3rd or 4th job interview, he'd nailed yet another job. He'd say, you know what? I'm going to be a coach because I can get a job anytime I want. And he actually went on to become very successful on his own. So again, this is going to be about how to understand people better than ever before, how to control your frame in any interview, interaction, or negotiation, how to boost your selling and conversion skills by as much as 40% or more. We'll teach you how to motivate your teams. If you run teams or departments, this is going to teach you how to get inside their head and figure out, do they belong on your team or in somebody else's? Are they a right fit for your company or not, in terms of their values, their morals, things of that nature? How to select the right employees, how to take control of your business life, and much, much more. It's a $497 value because you need the CPI system. You know, it's assumed you have CPI when you start doing this. So total value is $8,485 if you were to go to the website and try and buy it all, which you can't. So let's just review really quick. We're going to give you the Killer Influence Deluxe Behavioral Mastery Program. It's 27 videos. It also includes things like proxemic hypnosis, social hypnotic operators, meta program manipulation processes, lie detection, face reading, embedded commands, the whole spectrum of attraction protocols using the 3 magic questions, resistance removal formula. All this is included in the 27 video series along with the manifesto. It's a $2,497 value. As a free bonus, we're going to include Defense Against the Dark Arts, Behavioral Profiling, and Psychosocial Self-Defense Techniques recorded live in Las Vegas. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give you the Renegade Reframing, Objection Obliteration, and Speed Belief Change. $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to include the Speed Attraction, Rapid Attraction Secrets Home Study Course and Manual, $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And we're going to include the Stealth Selling Secrets breakout for maximum frame control and emotional bonding practice with my good friend and trainer, James C2. Total value is $8,485 if you were to try and buy it on our website, which some of these you still cannot do. So, obviously, because it's the new year, because I'm here to revisit, and because I want you to get the biggest bang for your buck, I want you to get the best deal humanly possible. You're not going to have to pay $8,485, not even a little bit. We're not going to charge you $63.47. We're not going to charge you $5,347. We're not even going to charge you $33.47 or $23.47. For those of you who are serious about making a change, for those of you who want maximum control and power in your life in minimum time, you can get everything we've just described for one low installment of just $997. That's it. Just one teeny payment of $997. And if you need a little extra help, you can break that down into 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do to get yours and to get started now is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. For those of you in our YouTube chats, I'm actually going to post this for you. For those of you who have questions, you can reach out to 858-282-4663. 858-282-4663. All right. Now, I know a lot of you have had a lot of experience in Planet David. Some of you are just starting to see the power of what we've got. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that the actions that get repeated, or the actions that get rewarded get repeated. The actions that get repeated get reinforced. And I want you to do that. I want to reward you. For those of you who are a little bit on the fence, I want you to know there's absolutely zero risk. You risk absolutely nothing by trying this out. We're going to give you a 60-day money-back guarantee. Take these skills, learn the materials, put them to practice, pick up the phone and call us if you have sticking points. And if after 60 days you're not making more money, closing more deals, attracting more of the people into your life that you want, if your life isn't getting more and more on track by the day as you use these skills, if you're not feeling more confident or secure or powerful, we'll give you a full refund. Right? If you're not winning any social encounter and becoming more irresistible in the areas of your life that are important, let us know. Let us help you over your sticking points. And if we can't help you over your sticking points, we'll give you a refund. If you're not satisfied with the results you're producing, we don't want your money. I know that sounds weird, but it's true, because I make my reputation based on the successes of my students, and I want you to be successful. So give us every opportunity to help you. And if after that 60-day period, you're not getting what you needed, or you're not on the fast track to getting what you needed, let us know, and we'll give you a full refund. You have absolutely zero risk with this. All you got to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. One more time with feeling, www.killerinfluence.com/go. All right. And if this wasn't amazing enough, because it's the new year, if you grab your course before January 5th, 2022, 11:59 p.m., you'll also get these amazing fast action bonuses. This is our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group. This is a 3-month trial and unlimited access to our 11-year video archive. It's a $1,597 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Total combined value is $10,082. Now, before I go on, let me just jump out of my PowerPoint for a moment and explain to you what the mastermind is. A lot of you are asking about can you do a class online, or how do I get better at this, and can we do a breakout? The mastermind has been running every month religiously since October of 2010. It happens on the third Saturday of every month, and on the third Saturday of every month, people come into the class, or they join us online, and I literally go around the room and I say, Ian, what do you want to learn? Seth, what do you want to learn? Marcus, what do you want to learn? David, what do you want to learn? Jennifer, what do you want to learn? Victoria, what do you want to learn? And Amber, what do you want to learn? and you tell me what you want to learn, and I write it on my board. After everybody's given me what they want to know about, I step back, I look at what they wrote, I create a lesson plan on the spot, and for the next 4 hours, I drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. One of the most important and powerful experiences you can have is to be surrounded by a group of people who want the same things you want, that want to do the drills that you want to do, and to have an ongoing relationship with these people. You will develop friendships, you will develop skill sets. You will not get a certificate from the NLP Power Mastermind group. What you will get is a skill set that you can take out into the world and use. On the next Saturday, of the next month, the third Saturday of the next month, you come back in, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you want to learn today? 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 I'm going to write it on the board. I'm going to find the connecting threads. I'm going to create the lesson plan on the spot. I'm going to drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. Okay? You will not get a certificate. You will get the ability to actually do these things. You can do it in person or you can do it virtually. Now, you've been running this particular program nonstop since October of 2010. What we have also been doing is we have videotaped every single class, every single session of those masterminds. We have edited them a little bit, and we have archived them on the NLP Power website. We've archived them on our private mastermind Facebook group, and we've also archived a good chunk of them on our private members only YouTube channel. When you get this package, you will get 3 months unlimited access to both our mastermind workshops where you can come in and roll up your sleeves and do the drills and get the skills. You'll also get 24-hour a day, 90-day access to the entire 11-year archive that has everything we've ever talked about, everything we've ever done, from attraction and dating to therapy to regression to vibrational influence and energy healing, copywriting, accelerated learning, performance enhancement, you name it. If it pertains to the mind and peak performance skills, it's in there. You got to look for it a little bit because, again, it's member driven. I didn't have a curriculum for that day until I got to the room. But most of that content, in fact, 95% or more of that content has never seen the light of day. It's never been shared anywhere except for our private NLP Power Mastermind members only. You're going to get a full 90 days to binge watch all of that content to your heart's content. You're going to get the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and focus down on the skills that you need specifically to move your life forward. At the end of those 90 days, if you want to stay, let Stephanie know. We'll extend your membership. We'll tell you how to do that. If you don't, you had 3 months of unlimited cognitive binging and skill development that you can use to make your life better. Is that cool? I think so. Because one of the things we see over and over and over again is that the things that make the difference are the things that force you out of your comfort zone and interacting with human beings in as organic a process as possible. That's why we do 3 times more hands-on training than any other trainer in our industries. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's martial arts. It doesn't matter if it's NLP, hypnosis, hypnotherapy, vibrational. Everything is using a 3x3 protocol. How much is it to extend the membership? Right now, it's I think it's $97 a month, but that's going to be going up. Okay. Reach out to Stephanie. She can fill in the blanks on that for you. So I just wanted to kind of jump off the PowerPoint for a moment and really explain that to you, because to me, the biggest changes and transformations that I've gotten have come from actually running that group, right? People wonder how I can just take all of these different topics and put something together on the fly. It's because of this mastermind program. And I want you to have that experience too. I want you to be surrounded by people that don't make you feel like a freak for wanting to know how to do this stuff, right? Who will actually have a vested interest in getting better and helping you get better. So that's what we got. It's a $1,597 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. But we're not going to stop there. Total value so far, if you totaled up everything we talked about, is $10,082. We're not going to stop there. I know a lot of you want to get out into the world and start making stuff happen right away. We're also going to include the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. Stealth, believe it or not, is an acronym. It actually stands for Strategic Suggestion Through Emotionally Amplified, Linguistically Transmitted hypnosis. It's the most powerful way to hypnotize people during normal conversations, to do instant and rapid inductions, to run them through attraction protocols. This course is designed in such, it's got manuals, it's got transcripts, it's got workbooks. It's designed for you to be able to watch a video and go out and start hypnotizing people instantly. So for those of you who want to get started now, this is going to be one of the biggest bangs for your buck. It's a $997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Total combined value so far, $11,079. Okay? And finally, I mentioned this earlier, I dropped a little Easter egg earlier. For those of you who are ready to make a change, for those of you who are ready to get off your butts and into a class, for the first 27 people to register today, we're going to include a VIP ticket to our upcoming Killer Influence 2020 live certification, Secrets of Covert Hypnosis certification boot camp. This is a 4-day certification boot camp. Runs April 27th through April 30th at the Orleans Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a $2,250 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. In these 4 days, you'll be learning how to do the drills and get the skills. You'll be able to rapidly, easily, and naturally materialize all of the skills. You'll learn rock solid state control secrets that allow you to create and manage the emotional states you want, and to actually begin to use that emotional energy to influence the neurology of the people around you. You'll learn those power rapport skills. Hold on a second, I gotta move my PowerPoint around. You'll learn those power rapport skills to create such powerful, deep neurological connections that the subject will literally unconsciously influence their mind and bodies in the way you want. You'll learn how to emotionally bond to subjects. You'll learn the 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence: authority, attractivity, acquiescence, and affinity. You learn how to cold read people and profile human beings' personality types using a combination of cold reading skills and Chinese face reading. You'll learn proxemic hypnotic operators, how to manage and manipulate the spatial relationships between you and other people so that you can psychologically position yourself in their minds in a way that makes them want to do what you want them to do and gain maximum influence over them. You'll learn about metafilter manipulation, the ability to change and modify how you speak and present to fit somebody's perception of the world so they more organically want to process and do the things you want them to do. So it's easier for them to make the decision you want them to make because you match their process. We're going to teach you the attractivity secrets and advanced social dynamics that allow you to become charismatic and attract the kinds of people and relationships you want into your life. The simple language technique that literally forces a person to pay attention to you, the 3 magic questions protocols, how to automate any emotional state or behavior in your subject, and so much more. This is a live training. It's a full immersion 4-day event out in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. And we're going to give this to you absolutely free if you're one of the first 27 people to register for the Killer Influence training, or the Killer Influence Deluxe Behavioral Mastery Home Study course today. Total value, when you add it all up together, is $13,329. But of course, you're not going to pay $13,329. You're going to get the Killer Influence Deluxe Hypnotic Influence Mastery Program, $2,479 value. You're going to get Defense Against the Dark Arts, $1,997 value, absolutely free. You're going to get Renegade Reframing, the Art of Conversational Belief Change and Overcoming Objections Home Study Course, $1,997 value, absolutely free. You're going to get Speed Attraction, Rapid Attraction Secrets Home Study Course, $1,497 value. We're going to give you that free. We're going to give you a 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and the 11-year video archive, $1,597 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to include the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis course, so you can download it tonight, start hypnotizing people tomorrow, $997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. And finally, cherry on the sundae, for those of you who really want the live experience, which I highly recommend for anybody who wants to be truly unstoppable with this, the Killer Influence VIP Super Ticket to the Killer Influence 4-day Conversational Hypnosis Certification Boot Camp, April 27th through the 30th at the Orleans Hotel and Casino, live in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a $2,250 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. All yours for one low installment of just $997. Or if you need a little help, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you need to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. Once again, if let me do this really quick so I don't have to keep typing. Now, usually when we do this, people start to stampede to the phones. If you have questions about anything in the package, you can reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663, or you can email her. Now, remember, if you try to reach out to her and the line is busy, make sure you leave a message. Make sure you leave your contact information. If you leave your contact information, you will qualify for the bonuses. If you do not leave your contact information and you call us tomorrow to try to get in, you won't qualify for any of the fast action bonuses. And the last three bonuses, these fast action bonuses that we're talking about here, the ones marked FA, they're only good for as long as I'm on the webinar tonight. When I log off the webinar, these fast action bonuses go away. So these are only for people who are absolutely serious, right? And hopefully a little bit on the sane side. Okay? So once again, 27 video collection. This is actually done our Killer Influence UK Special Edition plus the manual. The Defense Against the Dark Arts, Social Self-Defense Secrets, Renegade Reframing, Speed Attraction, Stealth Selling Secrets, Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group Trial and Video Archive, and the Killer Influence 4-Day Certification Boot Camp live in Las Vegas, Nevada, April 27th through the 30th at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. This is going to be a life-changing event. I encourage you all to click those links now and reserve your spot. Remember, when those 27 slots are gone, they're gone. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a 7-minute break. What is Stephanie's number? I'm glad you asked. There you go. We're going to take a 7-minute break. When we come back, we're going to pick up with the emotional bonding checklist, and I'm going to have you tell me, what is it you actually want to focus in on tonight? So once again, go ahead, click those links now. www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. And we will see you in about 6 minutes. All right, this is Dave. We got a few more minutes left, but I'm seeing some interesting questions in the chat. So while you guys are going ahead and processing your orders, let us see if I can answer some of those. Let's see here. Lisa is asking, is it possible to start the 90 days of Mastermind after I've completed the training modules? Yes, it is. All you have to do is reach out to Stephanie via email or call her and let her know. And she'll put a note in your account to activate your 90 days. Actually, what she'll do is she'll actually probably reach out to you on like day 89 and say, hey, do you want to activate your mastermind? And we'll get that going for you. So yeah, I think that's probably doable. There's B. I remember B. Miss you, B. Any chance that you can come to Europe in 2022? If they'll let me in without me having to be stabbed a gazillion times with a potentially lethal substance, I will happily come to the UK. We've been waiting for about 2.5 years to show up. We want to go back. Lisa says, I'm beyond excited for this. Lisa, I'm beyond excited to have you as part of the group. I can't wait to start putting you through your paces and really helping you get your life moving in the direction you want. Let's see here. Amber said, just called. Okay. Again, Amber, make sure that you leave all of your contact information because Stephanie will follow up with you in the next 24 hours. If you don't leave your contact information, you won't qualify for the bonuses, okay? I really want you to get the bonuses, all right? I want you to get the biggest bang for your buck. Joshua says, will any of the information given today be able to help? Hold on a second. That went by really quick. Will any of the information given today be able to help me reclaim my personal power and help protect me socially? Yes, all of it. Because that's what it's about. Everything, again, if you go back to the CPI model, what does it start with? It starts with state control, the ability to enter or exit any psycho-emotional state at will on demand. The byproduct of state control training is no one can push your buttons against your will for very long ever again. Okay, so yeah, the short answer is all of it, Joshua. Dan Cord says, instead of the Vegas 4-day camp, can it be transferred to the Costa Rica August training? It can be used as a discount towards the Costa Rica training, but this is not like one of our regular VIP tickets that this is for a specific event. But if you reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663, she'll give you the parameters of how to go about doing that. We actually had somebody do that today, so I know we have done it. Okay. David Snyder, it's Orlando. Okay. What's in Orlando? Killer Influence isn't in Orlando, is it? Killer Influence is in Orlando? Do I have a typo in my PowerPoint? Seriously? Ha! All right, we're not going to Vegas. We're going to Orlando. Remind me to change that in the PowerPoint. Anyway, the training is going to be somewhere warm. Well, if the Killer Influence is going to be April 27th through the 30th. April 27th through the 30th, Orlando, Florida. All right. Let me put that in the other chat too. April 27th. 30th, Orlando, Florida. All right. Liam says, at Lisa, welcome to Planet David. Oh, you're welcome. CPI is in Orlando, February. All right. You know what? Fix it, guys. I'm getting confused. Marina says, I just paid for the program, did not receive now. Reach out to Stephanie directly. Also, Marina, check your spam folder. Because a lot of times this stuff, especially if you're on Gmail, a lot of these things go to your promotions folder. If you still can't find it, reach out to Stephanie directly at 858-282-4663. That's 858-282-4663. Okay? All right. Are you guys ready to? Ooh, all right. Lots of action going on. I'm excited that you guys are going to join us. Are you guys ready to get back to work? You guys ready to learn some more cool stuff? Type yes or yes in the chat. So here's what I want to know. What do you want to learn? What do you want to focus on? You want to focus on the emotional bonding checklist, which is kind of the thing I introduced to you at the beginning. Do you want to focus on 3 magic questions protocol, which is that conversational framework that leads to people liking, loving, and trusting you in as little as 20 minutes? Or do you want to focus on what I lovingly call the resistance removal formula? Or would you like to focus on some hypnotic language patterns? I'm going to put 4 choices out there. Well, obviously, we can't do every single one, but I do want you to say I have 2 for the emotional bonding checklist, 1 for resistance removal, 3 magic questions. First one, that's also emotional bonding, resistance removal, building value of resistance, like hypnotics. All right, I see where this is going. All right, it looks like the majority of people wanted to know about the emotional bonding checklist, which makes sense, and resistance removal. We will go through those as quickly as we can, as thoroughly as possible in the time that we have, keeping in mind that we want to keep this really concise. Remember that these what I'm sharing with you on this webinar are pieces, nuclear pieces to be sure, of an entire system. So each one by itself is extraordinarily powerful. But when you apply the entire system, you get a synergy. You get a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. Which seminar would you recommend if you want to overcome my phobia for bugs? You either want to do Identity by Design or Self-Mastery Supercharger. Self-Mastery Supercharger, if you have time, actually starts next week, January 13th through the 15th, or yeah, I think it's 13th through the 15th. Yeah, and that's in Las Vegas. So yes, if what I will do for some of you, I don't normally want to do this, but if you can't make the Killer Influence training, April 27th through the 30th, wherever it is, if you let Stephanie know what training you want to go to instead, as long as it satisfies our criteria, which means the training you want to go to is 5 days or less, and you've satisfied the prerequisites for it, pop out the event. And of course, the porn mongers are back into the channel. That's all right. All right, so let's go back to the emotional bonding checklist. Okay, now everything that we're going to do with the emotional bonding checklist is built on what we did with the Echo technique and the Master Echo formula. So the secret to making the Echo technique, or not Echo technique, the emotional bonding checklist super powerful is to use as many of their words in your presentation as possible. That being said, this particular technique is probably the most powerful way to get people to want to do something that I have found. Now, there are lots of powerful techniques out there, but the most direct, I don't want in a pleasurably invasive way to do this. This particular technique goes right to a person's emotional center, the emotional foundations of what constitutes everything in their world that is right and natural for them. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? Human beings have a checklist for everything that they do, right? And what I mean by that is, let's say that you want to buy a stick of chewing gum, right? If I were to ask you, what do you want in a stick of chewing gum? Well, some people might say, I want something that's sugar-free. I want something that's not too spicy. I want something that lasts a long time, right? And I might ask for you, well, I'm curious about something. What's important to you about chewing gum that lasts a long time? And you're going to say, well, I know I'm going to get more satisfaction from it because it lasts longer. I get more value for my money. Oh, so you get more value for your money. So if I could show you a stick of chewing gum that would last a long time, so you feel you got more value for your money, that would be something you'd be interested in. Yeah, absolutely. Do you see what I just did there? I elicited what you wanted in something. I asked what's important about it. and then I echoed it back to you. You see what I mean? I'm using chewing gum as a metaphor or as a demonstration. I want to break it apart now so you understand kind of the big picture. Do you understand what I did? I asked you the question, what's important to you, or what do you want in X? Right? What do you want in life insurance? What do you want in the perfect house? What do you want as a byproduct of our webinar today? What do you want as a from this in the perfect relationship? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? The moment I ask that question, the person's going to say, I want X, I want Y, and I want Z. Right? What do? You hit them with the master echo technique formula. Absolutely. I think X and Y and Z are absolutely important things to have. So I'm curious, just so I understand you better, what's important about X and Y and Z? Well, 1, 2, and 3 is important about X, Y, and Z. Oh, I get it. So if I could show you a product or service that would give you X and Y, give you 1 and 2 and 3, so you could experience X and Y and Z, that might be something you're interested in learning more about, wouldn't it? Absolutely, right? Now again, fill in the blanks. So I'm going to give you an actual demo, but I want you to understand that the vast majority of what we're doing is their own words. Now, the secret is when you start eliciting someone's emotional bonding checklist, and human beings have a checklist for every single thing they do, even if they've never actually considered having it or wanting it. So let's say, for example, you're a 22-year-old kid, right? And I ask you, and I want to sell you life insurance, right? Actually, I want you to buy life insurance. Now, most 22-year-olds, the last thing on their mind is a life insurance policy. So I could ask them a very simple question. I know you're really kind of, it's kind of young to be thinking about life insurance, but I'm wondering about something. I'm curious about something. If you were to think about getting life insurance, if you were to consider getting a policy for yourself, what would be important about the perfect policy for you? What would you absolutely have to have or need or want in that policy to feel good about going forward and getting it? Well, it would have to be affordable for sure, and it would have to, hospital. If I could get a hospital benefit, that would be awesome. If I could get, make sure my family, whatever family I have, is taken care of, and people can afford to bury me. That would be helpful. Oh, I see. So it would have to be affordable for sure, and it would have to be able to, take care of your family and afford to bury you and make sure your loved ones were taken care of. And I'm curious about something. If you found a policy that was affordable, that would allow you to, get, afford your burial, take care of your family, give you some security, things of that nature. I'm curious, what would that do for you? What would that allow you to experience? Well, I'd have a little bit more peace of mind. I'd have a little bit more confidence about kind of, going about my life, knowing that stuff was handled. Oh, excellent. Well, as we go through today's policy, Mr. Jones, I'm going to show you exactly how this policy is super affordable for you. In fact, if you look at this part of the policy right here, you'll see there's different payment plans that you can get on that makes it totally affordable for someone at your age and your bracket. It's going to give you the ability to make sure that if something should happen, God forbid, not only is your family taken care of, this part right here shows you all the benefits your family is going to receive as a natural byproduct of getting this policy for yourself. And of course, it's going to make sure that there's money to bury you. It's going to cover all of your burial expenses with a little left over to make sure your family's taken care of in the way that's appropriate for you. Okay? So you can feel that peace of mind that comes from knowing this is handled. Okay? Now, what did I do there? All I did was I found out, I created a situation where it was natural to ask, if you had the perfect X, what would that be? Right? And then I said, if you were to think about it, what do you have to have, right? What are the elements? What are the elements of the checklist that they have to have? Then I drilled down on what's important to this person about the checklist, about the elements that they satisfy. So if you go back to the drill we did earlier, remember I said, imagine for a moment that you got all the things, you got the tools to get what you wanted from this webinar. What would be important to you about getting that? And you gave and you answered a second set of questions, right? Then you asked what's important about that, and you drilled down to another set of parameters, right? And then what you do, once you have that information, You only talk about the aspect of your product or service that directly satisfies and meets their needs. Let me reiterate that. I'm teaching this in a little bit of a different order than I normally teach it because I want you to kind of grasp the big picture. Okay? The secret to getting this to work interpersonally is that once you know from your echo technique, your master echo process and your emotional bonding checklist process, you know exactly what to say and how to say it. Now you have to take those words, find the aspect of you, your product or your service, that directly satisfies those needs, and you have to link them together. You have to use their words to talk about your product, but only, this is the important piece, the only pieces of your product you should be talking about are the exact ones that satisfy their needs. Okay, so one quick story, then I'll do a quick solo demo so you can see how this works, and then we'll talk a little bit more about where you want to go with this. Okay, so once upon a time, I was teaching a class in Herzliya, Israel, and I was tasked by Essence Security to come in and work with their vice presidents, their marketing department, and their R&D department. And one of the things I was teaching them was the echo technique and some aspects of the emotional bonding checklist. And even though the R&D people, their whole idea of customer service was read the manual, right? There are these two people in the R&D department, and Essence at the time was in the business of building what we call smart homes. That you would wear a little bracelet or a ring that was like a sensor, and the entire house would monitor you. So if you like fell in the shower or just suddenly passed out in the living room, the house would know it and would call like the paramedics or whatever. So I'm running these people through the echo technique, and we have person A and person B. And person A is the person doing the elicitation, so to speak. Person B is the person being elicited. And so the role play they were doing was this person was talking about how his father is retired. He needs a house that, he knows he can be safe. And while person B is listening to them, now I didn't tell them to do this. This was what's so cool about this. They just did this spontaneously. Every time person A described a need for his father, person B would talk about the feature of the smart house that directly solved that problem. And what was interesting was about 10, 15 minutes into this exercise, person A looks at person B and says, okay, I'll buy it. And person B almost swallowed his tongue. Why? Because he wasn't trying to sell him anything. You see, people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. And the fastest way to find out what people want to buy, or who they want to be in a relationship with, or the kind of relationship they want to have, is to ask them and pay attention to the responses, validate those responses, repeat those responses back to them, and ask another question. And then once you've gotten that information, look at what you offer. Does what you offer in any way directly satisfy the things they've given you? If it does, you use their word to talk about your product or service, and the longer you keep them linked together, the more automatically they associate you with the solution, and they automatically want to do business with you and take the next step by default. In fact, one of the things that happens when you adopt this process, most of your price objections, your time objections, your I got to talk to my spouse objections will go right out the window. Because you're speaking directly to the things people want emotionally, and we always find the resources to get our emotions satisfied. Let me repeat that. We always find the resources to satisfy our emotional needs. Okay? How do I know this? How many of you had a choice between buying something you needed or taking a vacation? How many of you chose the vacation? Right? How many of you will go out to spend $120 for a dinner, but won't spend $120 to, go take a class? Right? Emotions, desires, needs. Right? Again, that goes back to our values. Now, here's the demo we're going to do. So this next demo, demo, for lack of a better word, is going to be one based on relationships. Now, when you get people in a relationship, one of the most common questions to ask is, what's important to you about a relationship? And that is the criteria question. There's 2 questions that you need to kind of memorize. Everything else is kind of fluff. 2 questions that you need to memorize. The first question is, what's important about X? What's important about real estate or the perfect house? What's important about the best life insurance policy? What's important to you about the ideal relationship? What's important to you about the perfect employee? What's important to you about the perfect car? Right? What's important to you about whatever it is? You follow me so far? The second question, you only ask if you're unsure of the information the person gave you with the first question. And that question goes like this: how do you know? Right? So, using a real estate example. So I'm curious, Mr. Prospect or Mrs. Prospect. So if you would imagine the perfect house, how do you know when you've got the perfect house? Oh, well, that's easy. Perfect house would have 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, big kitchen, big backyard, close to the school, walking distance to the schools. Wow, that's really great. That's really specific. So I'm curious about something, just so I understand you better, because big kitchens mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. How do you know? How do you know when you've got the perfect kitchen? How do you know when you've got a kitchen that's big enough by your standards? Oh, well, that's easy. There's a lot of space, a lot of cabinet space, but there's there's room for a big dining table. Ah, big dining room table. That's interesting. So I'm curious, what's important to you about room for a big dining room table? Well, when I was growing up, we lived in this big house. We had a big family. Mom had this big kitchen, and every holiday, all the family would gather around in the kitchen, and they'd make food together, and they'd eat at the table, and they'd just have a great time, and we'd just all connect. And I remember those times, and I want that for my family. And I know a big kitchen is going to help me do that. Oh, I get it. So you want a big kitchen so you have a room for a big table so the family can get together and help cook meals together and get together on holidays and really commune and connect, just like when you were kids. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thinking about it like that, Mrs. Prospect, I can think right off the top of my head of at least 4 houses that are close to good schools, have 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, big backyard, and have a huge kitchen that has enough room for a big table so you can have those family get-togethers that mean so much to you. How soon would you like to go see those? Well, can we go now? Right? It's literally that simple. But what did I do? First thing I asked is, what's important to you about... Actually, I said, what's important to you about... How do you know when you've got the perfect house? She gave me a list of features. I drilled down on the emotional reasons behind those features, right? So we started with a big kitchen, room enough for a table. Why? Because that gives them room for the family get-togethers so they can feel connected. And then I would add in the connection parts of it to that. So as you enjoy this big kitchen with this beautiful table and the family surrounded you, you'll experience that connection and closeness that you had when you were growing up, and your family, your new family, can have those same experiences and pass that on to their children when they're ready for it. Joshua says, I literally did a recall of all the times I've experienced this. What if I don't give you enough information? Whatever information you give me is going to be enough. But remember, your job as an influencer and a persuader is to help the person. If the person isn't going to help you, find somebody who will. Right? But here's the thing. If you're using the echo technique and you've set the context right and you've gotten that rapport that we've talked about, they will, in fact, give you this information. Miriam, how about the question? Okay, I don't know, Miriam, I don't know what the question was. What does that look like to you? You could use that, but it forces a visual representation. And that really kind of goes, that's kind of a chunk down from the question of how do you know? Right? You can say, well, how do you know when you've got it? What will you see? What will you hear? That's more of an NLP-ish approach. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that at all. In fact, the best thing we can do is we actually just use their exact words, which in the demo, the real estate demo I did, was exactly what I did. Functionally speaking, the ability to use their exact words generates connection and self-disclosure. Right? And that's the point. You, when in doubt, echo it out. If you say something wrong, go back to echoing what they said. They'll fall back into rapport. This is why I started with the echo technique. It is the most nuclear-powered influence tool on the planet. When you combine it and you integrate it into this emotional bonding checklist, magic happens. Literally, people will ask you to buy. Right? The hardest close I do, believe it or not, is how soon would you like to get started? That's my close. If you've ever been in a consultation with me, 30-minute consultation, that's the hardest close I do. The hardest close I do is actually, what's the next step we need to take to move forward? That's the hardest close I do. Why? Because if you've done this properly, you've eliminated all of their objections before they have a chance to start. The time you'll get objections during a sales process or a presentation process is if you haven't addressed the emotional bonding checklist. That's why we had to create CPI 2, 3, and 2 and 3, because sometimes people didn't get the emotional bonding checklist part. They missed the criterion values, and they wound up getting objections because you didn't speak right to the emotional needs. It's interesting how that works, right? But when you start tapping into people's emotions, and if you're doing this right, they should be getting emotional. You should see facial colorations, pupil dilation. They start leaning in. They'll start unconsciously head nodding. You will see these things. These will not be small, right? If you're not tapping into emotion, you're not tapping into the power, or you're missing something, okay? So I'm going to give you one more little demo. This is kind of my set demo. And this one has more to do with relationships. You have person A and you have person B. And we always want to know what's important to somebody in a relationship. Now, when you start applying the emotional bonding checklist to relationships, it's not enough to know what they want and not enough to talk about what they want. You have to embody what they want. In other words, if they have a certain set of characteristics or traits, you've got to behaviorally demonstrate those. Okay? But you can get a lot of leverage just by listening it, talking about it, and telling stories about it. So, person A, you ask them, so I'm curious, just so I understand you better, what do you absolutely need to feel comfortable and happy and satisfied in a relationship? Person A says, oh, well, that's easy. I need to feel respected in a relationship. I need to know that you respect me in order for me to be happy and satisfied in that relationship. Person B says, oh, so respect in a relationship is really important to you. And person A goes, yeah. And I go, well, I'm curious about something. You know, respect means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So just so I understand you better, how do you know when you're being respected, when somebody's signaling that they respect you? How do you know that? Person A says, well, it's like this. Look, I know that you respect me when you tell me the truth. When you, regardless of whether you know it's going to hurt my feelings, whether it's going to piss me off, what have you. You just let me have it. You tell me the truth. You don't mince words. You just get right to the point. You tell me what you need to tell me. Oh, so you know somebody respects you when they get right to the point. They don't mince words. Even if it's going to piss you off and or might hurt your feelings, you just tell them the truth. Absolutely. Person A then goes, so I'm curious about something. What's important to you in a relationship? Person B says, well, interestingly enough, respect. Person A says, okay, just so I understand you better. How do you know when you're getting the respect that you need? How do you know when you're being respected? Person B says, I know you respect me when you tell me the truth, but you do it in a way that doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't make me feel like I'm an idiot or makes me feel bad about myself in some way. That's how I know you respect me. Now, think about this for a moment. Person A, you ask what their value in a relationship is, it's respect. You ask person B what their value is, they say respect. But when you ask them how they know they're getting respect, they're different. We call that a rules violation. In other words, the name of the value, the feeling it generates is the same, but the way that person is triggered to feel that is different. And this is why those two questions will always be your go-to questions. How do you know what's important about? Understand? What's important to you about respect? Respect is important because I know you're not going to talk down to me. You're not going to treat me like a fool. You're not going to disregard my my contributions. Right? You're not going to embarrass me in front of my friends. Right? Oh, well, I'm curious. What's important to you about, not being embarrassed in front of your friends? Well, I don't feel bad. Right? Well, I promise you that I will never cause you to feel bad by embarrassing you in front of your friends because I respect you. Right? And I think that's absolutely true. Right? So again, are we seeing how this works? Lottie Martin says, teary again, beautiful David, right? So now, again, in Killer Influence and CPI and some of the other things, we will show you ways to build on, amplify, and extrapolate this. But the secret to it is, once again, understanding the difference between a value and a rule, right? Remember I said we call it the emotional bonding checklist for a reason. Everything people want, here's the thing. The emotional bonding checklist is a completely contextual process. In other words, you have a different checklist for buying a stick of gum versus buying a house versus selecting a mate versus picking your clothing, right? And even if you've something you've never considered, if I ask you what's important, your neurology will automatically generate a checklist, right? This is how you begin to unpack it. Now, the next piece is, once again, once you know what they need, and this is, again, where ethics comes in. Once you know what they need, how they know they're getting it, and what the emotional payoff for them is, you look at yourself, your product, or your service. And when you talk about your product or your service, you only talk about the aspects of your product or service that directly, and I mean directly, satisfy those things. And you use their words to do it. The longer you use their words to do it, the more they will tend to do business with you by default. The more they'll tend to do what you want by default. They'll think it's their own idea. Why? Because it is. Right? So, and again, if you go back and you listen to some of my real estate examples, you'll hear language patterns that I'm using in there to connect their words to my product. And that's all you got. The longer you do it, the more rapidly that mechanism kicks in. Okay? So are we clear on that so far? Well, actually, the question was asked, would this be more challenging with an X? Yes and no. Because chances are, if she's an X or he's an X, it's because you violated their values consistently over a certain period of time. So, theoretically, if you could elicit and bring into this discussion the values process, the emotional bonding process, there is a possibility that you could get a second chance. There's probably a lot of behavioral stuff you're going to have to do to prove to this person that you've changed. But the short answer is, there's a lot you can do with this. Because for every single thing human beings do, there's an emotional bonding checklist and a way that they know that they're getting it. If you can match it and link it to you, your product or your service, they will tend to do business with you by default. Okay? So I see some questions popping up. Just as a quick reminder, for those of you who've hung out so far, we're offering the Killer Influence Deluxe Behavioral Mastery Program. It's a 27 video series, $2,497 value. We're going to include our special defense against the dark arts, social self-defense secrets, $1,997 value. The Renegade Reframing, Objection Mastery and Conversational Belief Change Home Study Course, $1,950 value. The Speed Attraction, Rapid Attraction Secrets, this is actually to be $1,497 value. Stealth Selling Secrets, $497. Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, $997. The NLP Mastermind Practice Group and 11-year archive, $1,597 value. And of course, the 4-day certification VIP Killer Influence Bootcamp ticket, April 27th to the 30th. Total of $2,250 value. Total package for this, total package value here is $13,329. You can get it all for one low installment of $997, or you can break it up into 3 easy installments of $397. All you have to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. All right. So let me see if there's some other questions here that I can answer really quickly. I want to stop people bullying me. I get it from all I always have. All right. For Michelle, for this question, here's the thing I want to talk about when it comes to bullying of any kind. And I can speak to this because I was bullied most of my life. In fact, I don't talk about this story very often. It's in a couple of my videos. I was such a bullied teenager that I actually petitioned my high school to graduate early because I was afraid to ride the bus because people would follow me home and do things like that. So when it comes to bullying, it's a very hot topic for me, although I don't talk about it much. And so here's the thing I need you as the victims of bullying to understand. That your ability to push back and stand up to bullying on a psycho-emotional level is going to be directly influenced by your ability and willingness to stand up to somebody on a physical level. I want to make that very, very clear. Psychological bullying and physical bullying are very, 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 very connected. Bullying was one of the biggest reasons why I got into martial arts to begin with, aside from the coolness factor. I was so angry as a kid that I wanted to get into martial arts. I wanted to learn how to fight and be really good and track down every motherfucker who ever bullied me or ever picked on me and get payback. I'm not going to hide that from you. You've heard me say in the past that when I was, if you'd have told me 35 years ago that I'd be in a treatment room 10 hours a day shoveling other people's stuff, I'd have laughed at you. All I wanted to do was, get chicks, kick butt, and be cool, right? The interesting thing that happened to me was that by the time I had the ability to kick ass, I didn't feel like I needed to anymore. But I knew I could if I needed to. And that gave me a little bit of maturity and a little bit of perspective. So here's the thing I want you to understand. People get away with bullying because they don't believe that they can get hurt from it. They don't believe that they can be punished badly enough from it. And so in either case, whether you're dealing with physical bullying or you're dealing with psycho-emotional bullying or social bullying for that matter, you need the willingness to confront and the ability to deliver and execute that will, which means you need techniques. So for those of you who are the victim of social bullying, of psychological bullying, or physical bullying, the best piece I can give you, is find ways to cultivate the will to fight back. For a lot of you, that will actually involve you doing something physical, like taking a martial arts class, going to the gym and lifting weights and becoming physically stronger. But you also have to have the right tool for the right job. If somebody is accosting you verbally you can't just haul off and punch them in the mouth unless you're willing to accept the legal ramifications that come with that. Now, I personally am. I operate from the point of view that it's better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. You know, believe it or whether you accept that or not, that's just how I operate. So I look at my persuasion systems and my influence systems as an extension of my martial arts training. So for those of you who want to deal with bullies, whether it's a physical bully, a workplace bully, a social media bully, people riding the bus bullies, you need the will to stand up and the tools to fight back. One without the other is really impotent, right? The one thing I can tell you, the one thing is going to come across as harsh. All right, I'm going to say that right out. It's going to come across as harsh. The first thing that you have to understand, the first belief that you have to adopt is this: nobody else is coming to save you. Nobody else is coming to save you. The only person that can save you is you. If you wrap your mind around that idea, it will tend to cause you to shift your emphasis from evading the bullies to becoming stronger, to make yourself more powerful in every way. Now, remember, becoming stronger, becoming a person who can have different results, means it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel odd. It's going to feel like you're doing something unnatural. That's okay. Because the people who become effective learn to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Where being uncomfortable becomes something familiar, but we do the job anyway. And this is why Systema training for me, in spite of all the years of martial arts training I had prior, helped me more than anything else. Because they specifically gave you the drills and the tools to not only train your body, but to train your mind. And the first thing that the combative people wrapped into our heads: nobody's coming to save you. Only you can save you. Right? Sounds harsh, but it's the most empowering thing. I can give you tools. I can show you, using influence as a context. Even martial arts, we do martial arts trainings too. I can show you what to do. I can help shorten the learning curve. But I can't learn it for you. I can't do it for you. You have to decide for you if you deserve it or not. Because nobody else is coming to save you. At the end of the day, we come into this world alone. We go out alone. We may have people who join us briefly here and there on our journey. But at the end of the day, we're on our own. So while you have a community that supports you and can help you learn these things, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to stand up. And you have to have the will to do that. It's not going to be comfortable. But you can train. You can learn. You can be different. The package helps, but there's other things. Okay? So when it comes to bullying and empowerment, I'm all about it. And right now, probably more than any other time, we need these social self-defense skills. We need these verbal self-defense skills that are taught in Renegade Reframing and Defense Against the Dark Arts and Killer Influence. That's what we need. But we have to support that with the physical ability to push back, the physical ability to fight back to some degree. You don't need to be a black belt, but you need to have some things that bolster you on a physical level that can support your mental and emotional level. Right? A lot of people like Krav, and that's fine. I don't really care what martial art you do. What's important is what it does for you. That's really what it matters. Okay. So, again, every martial I got more black belts than McDonald's sells hamburgers. I find value in all of them. The question becomes, what do you want in your life? What results do you want to produce? And are the arts you're studying moving you in that direction or away from it? If you've got this tall, skinny body type, learning judo is probably not going to be your best art. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you're going to work a lot harder because people with lower centers of gravity tend to do judo and MMA and Brazilian jiu-jitsu a lot better than people with tall, kicking arts and long range arts are better for you. Again, what's the, what do you want to do? So mirroring is can save you. Yes. Yes, but a lot of times, and this is the big piece, and by the way, you'll learn how to do a lot of this in the first couple videos of Killer Influence, because it's all about state control. We'll talk about Master and Commander, we'll talk about the Rockstar meta frame, the Open Heart Trust Trigger, yeah. Okay, so anyway, so I hope that helps. So Michelle Hughes is asking, I want to learn to say what I think rather than what that person wants to hear. I'm always pleasing others, never looking after myself. Put yourself first. How do you use this to stop self-sabotage? Best way to do this, Sherry, to stop self-sabotage is to use the Renegade reframing techniques. Write down the limiting beliefs that you have, the things that cause you to self-sabotage, and start applying the 14 reframe patterns to that. Marina's asking Stephanie about the emails. Check your spam folders. Yeah, the echo technique is a great way to somebody was mentioning about using the echo technique on bullies. It actually is a great way to turn a bully into a friend. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so has this been useful? Have you guys learned something from this? Cool. All right. What do you want to do next? You guys want to talk about resistance removal, or you want to talk about hypnotic language? We only have time for one, so pick. Okay, I'm seeing hypnotic. Oh, you guys are making this hard. All right, no, you just made it a lot easier now. I just had a flurry of resistance removal shit come through. All right, so this next piece, and again, you'll learn this in Killer Influence. You'll also learn this, I think, in Defense Against the Dark Arts. It's called the resistance removal formula. And it, again, utilizes the echo technique, but it's based on this idea that the best reasons somebody can have for doing the things they just told you they didn't want to do are the reasons they make up, right? So one of the things that happens when we start to get into therapy work, or well, any kind of work really. Oh wow, I'm looking at the YouTubers are like all screaming for hypnotic stuff. I'll see what I can do. Oh, you guys are killing me. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoints. Before we get into that, just again, real quick reminder, these fast action bonuses that you see here, these bonuses are only good. They're only available until I log off the webinar. Okay? If you call Stephanie or leave a message before 11:59 p.m., you can still get all of these. Right? But if once I log off the webinar, these go away. So if you want the VIP super ticket to the Killer Influence 4-day training, if you want the 3-month trial practice group and the 11-year archive and the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis crash course, you should probably get yours now by going to www.killerinfluence.com/go here in the chat. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Again, if you're going to call Stephanie, if you have a question. Also, one of the things we'll let you do, if you have some of these courses, let's say you bought one of these courses on our website, or you bought a package from a previous webinar and some of these are included, if the price points match, we'll actually let you substitute a product. As long as the price points are equal or lesser value, you can go ahead and swap the products out. You just got to let Stephanie know, and she'll do that for you. Okay? So let's go back to the resistance removal formula. Okay. Now, the resistance removal formula, as I teach it, is based on the work of Dr. Michael Pantalon. And the book that this is based on is called Instant Influence. And I will tell you up front that it's a great book. And that because of the way the nervous system works, you can actually use this protocol to eliminate physical pain. It's so weird. But I actually have a video on YouTube where somebody came up with pain, back pain, and using this resistance removal protocol, I literally argued her out of back pain. Right? It's really cool. And I actually, in one of my other classes, I used this exact same protocol to talk 4 people in the room out of having tinnitus. I actually reduced and removed their tinnitus, or tinnitus, using this protocol. Now, tinnitus is one of the maladies I've had the hardest time dealing with clinically. So I was actually quite shocked when this worked and how well it worked. But one of the first things that has to happen when you want somebody to do something they just told you they did not want to do is you have to actually validate them. And what I mean by that is you actually have to reaffirm their right to say no. This is probably one of the single most important aspects of this. We call this restore sense of personal choice or autonomy. When people, let me ask this question really quick. How many of you have ever been talked into doing something you didn't want to do? Like you just got browbeaten or bullied or whatever. Yes? Okay. How did you feel about it? How did you feel about it? Did you want to do it? Were you angry maybe? Did you want to find a way to get revenge? Yes, no? Talk to me. All right. What you experienced, that anger, that I call it the fuck you factor. That sense of like no hope is called reactance. Reactance is a phenomenon that every human being experiences anytime their sense of free will or personal choice is taken away or perceived as being taken away. You understand that? Now, one of the side effects of that, and there's several, is what we call passive-aggressive behavior. One of the things I teach all of my hypnosis and hypnotherapy students, people who are going to see clients, when they do their 30-minute consultation with a subject, is you've got to make sure that those people are there for their own reasons. A lot of my students are hypnotherapists or coaches. They deal with habit control, like smoke cessation or weight loss, probably, and addictions. Probably the big top 3 where this is a factor. And a lot of times somebody will come into your clinic and they're there in your clinic because somebody else wants them to be there. I'll use smoking as an example. Somebody shows up at your clinic, they want to stop smoking. You ask them, well, I'm curious about something. Do you want to stop? Why are you here to stop smoking? Well, my wife has been on my case about the stink in my clothes, about how much money it's costing. She just busted my balls to stop smoking. So I'm just going to go ahead and make me stop smoking, right? First thing I say to them is no. And they're going to look at me like, what? I said, look, if you want to stop smoking for your reasons, I will help you stop smoking. But if you're here because your wife wants you to stop smoking, or your sibling or your brother wants you to stop smoking, or your kids want you to stop smoking, that's not good enough. And here's the thing I want you to understand. I am your advocate. I am your ally in this. If you don't want to stop smoking, I will not help you stop smoking. Right? If you want to be a better smoker, if you want to enjoy cigarettes more, I'm your advocate. I will actually do that for you. Because I'm here for you. I'm here to make sure that you come out of these sessions getting what you want. Not what your wife wants, not what your husband wants, not what your brother or your sisters want, not what your kids want, you. So if you want to be a better smoker, I'll use my skills to help you be a better smoker. If you want to, sit in the room and just look at me for 90 minutes because they're paying the bills, I'm happy to let you do that too. If you want to walk out of here and never come back, I support you in that. But I'm curious about something, just for the sake of argument. If you were to want to quit smoking for your reasons, not your wife's reasons, not your husband's reasons, not your brother's reasons, not your kids' reasons, for your reasons, why? Why might you want to stop smoking? And they'll look at you and they'll say, well, it does kind of stain my teeth. I could really use and it does make my clothes smell, and I could probably use the extra money. Perfect. So, less stains on the teeth, less smells in the clothes, a little extra money. I'm curious about something. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want? How much do you want? Better teeth, less smelly clothing, and a little bit more money. Oh, geez, like 4 or 5, man. Wow. 4 or 5. Why so much? Why didn't you rate it less? Well, because I don't want to stink, and I want, I could use that money for other things. Cool. So I'm curious. What's the next step that we need? And I agree. It's stinking is not cool, and you could use the extra money. So how soon? What's the next step we need to take so you can stink less and have more money? Well, I guess we need to go ahead and book a session. Have a seat. Boom. See? Did you see what I did? First thing I did, the most important thing, when somebody is presented with a situation where they're feeling compelled to do the thing they don't want to do by somebody else's will, their autonomy has been impinged upon. You need to give it back to them. You need to give them the experience that they actually have the right to choose, and that you support them whether they want to do what the other person wants or not. Because if you don't restore that sense of personal freedom and choice, they will filter everything you say as an attempt to manipulate them, and they will fight you. So the first thing that must happen is you must create an alliance with them, where they see you as their friend, their advocate, their support, because they feel like everybody else is out to get them. And as long as they feel like you're part of them, they will resist anything you say. The moment they feel like they've been vindicated, validated, that their decisions are going to be honored and respected without being vilified in any way, they become hyper compliant if you word things properly. And the thing is you have to ask them what would be the right motivation for them to want to do those things. So the protocol is A, restore personal autonomy, ask the question, echo the response. Let me show you the template really quick. So, if you were to want to do, if you were to want to do X, why might you want to do that? You listen to what they say. What do? You agree with it. You echo what they said. You ask the next question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much might you want to do that? The most important word in this sentence, by the way, is might. Scale of 0 to 10, how much might you want to do that? They're going to give you a number. It does not matter what number they give you. The moment they give you a number, you know what you do? You echo, you validate, you ask again. What do you ask? Why so much? Why didn't you rate it less? They're going to give you an answer, and it's usually going to have a look, and usually it's going to look like this. You're going to say, so why do you want this so much? Why didn't you rate it less? And they're going to go, what? Because they're expecting you to say, why don't you want it more? But you don't say that. You say, why didn't you rate it less? Why do you want this so much? And they're going to give you this look next, like, duh, usually what they say. Because they know in their own minds why they want it is obvious. It's plain, it's blatant, and they just told you previously. But here's the magic. The rationalization that gets challenged only grows stronger. So when you ask somebody, why do you want this so much? Why didn't you rate it less? You're actually attacking the reason they just gave you for wanting to do the thing they said they didn't want to do. You understand that? You're attacking the very reason they gave you for wanting to do the thing they said they didn't want to do. The act of resisting it causes the desire to do it to grow stronger. Right? You guys want to play a little bit? Again. Yes, the moment they start defending their answer, their desire to do it, that pushback factor we were talking about earlier, works for you instead of against you. Okay? All right. So again, I'm doing this as a group exercise, but all right, let's play a little bit. I want you to stop for a moment. For those of you who haven't, I'm going to have some fun with this, so the heck with you guys. I want you to stop for a moment and think of if you haven't bought your package yet, right? I'm not going to force you to buy the package. I'm not going to make you, charge your credit card or whatever. But I'm curious about something. If you were to want to get our next package, the one we're offering today, for your own reasons, not my reasons, not your wife's reasons, your husband's reasons, your children's reasons, your boss's reasons, whatever, for your reasons, the ones that would make your life better by your standards and your definitions. If you were to grab the package, not this package, right? Why might you want to do that? Why might you want to do it for you? And if you want, you can type it in the chat, or you can just write it on a piece of paper. I don't care, right? But why might you want to do that? Take a moment, think about it. Then what I want you to do is, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much might you want to do that? Once you have a number, type your number in the chat. Cool. All right. Beautiful. So here's my question. Why do you want this so much? Why didn't you rate that number less? Pay attention to what thoughts pop into your head, and notice what happens to your desire to take the action. Type what happens in the chat. All the reasons you said, right? Perfect. Thinking about it like that, how soon you want to click that link and reserve your spot? Well, again, reach out to Stephanie. She's really good at helping people finance things. Get that ball rolling, right? Now, you knew what I was doing, right? You knew what I was doing. And yet, I'm betting the vast majority of you felt the desire to do it go up. True or not true? Type true or not true in the chat. This is pure conversational voodoo. Okay? Because if you do work in those problem areas, you're dealing with addictions, you're dealing with any kind of unmotivated... I actually helped a person get over an ex one time. I was actually doing a video shoot, and I was talking to one of the the waiters at the bar, and we got to talk. He was telling me about how he couldn't get past this girlfriend who just broke up with him. And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm curious about something. On a scale of 0 to 10, I mean, if you don't want to get over her, I'm not going to try and talk you into getting over her. But if you were to want to get over her and put her behind you for all the right reasons, not your friend's reasons or other people's reasons, but your reasons, why might you want to put that behind you and get over her? Well, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I said, oh, okay. So thinking about it like that, how much might you want to do that? Scale of 0 to 10, how much might you want to do that? And he goes, well, 9. I go, 9? Why so much? Why didn't you rate it less? He goes, well, because I'm done. I need to be free. I need to go forward, man. And all of a sudden he realized something. She was done. He was done with her. He looked at me like, dude, thank you. Right? Again, this is, again, I have this little, I don't know if it's genetic, I don't know if it's God touching my head and saying, here, motherfucker, or what, but every now and then I come across these technologies, these little books that have little nuggets in them that just, they unpack in my head like a zip file. This was one of them. This particular protocol, when I learned it, was amazing, but then I started using it in places you wouldn't have even thought. Dealing with physical illness, emotional problems, not just motivational. The way the nervous system works, the neurologist doesn't really care what you throw this at. If you word it properly, the mechanics of it will just create the opposite direction in a desirable way. It's really cool. So this is how, again, you've got to set the context. You've got to restore personal autonomy. Will I cover this? Yes, Marina. This covered in depth in both Killer Influence and in defense. I believe in Defense Against the Dark Arts as well. Yeah, we will cover it. It's covered quite extensively. This one has become a real important part of our Batman utility belt in Killer Influence. And when you come to the live event, you will absolutely be immersed in it. It's really, really important. Well, that's what I think of this stuff as. Everything I teach, I think of it like a cartridge in our utility belts. We go out into the world and we're superheroes. We're Jedi. We're wandering wizards with all these tools to help ourselves and then the people that we feel worthy of helping. You want a Wonder Woman utility belt? We can do that. We can do that. Do you guys have fun? You learn some stuff? All right. So again, we covered three big pieces tonight, in addition to all the principles that underlie it. We've talked about the echo technique, the secret passcode to the human nervous system, one of the most powerful, unstoppable language patterns that exist. If you know nothing else but the echo technique, you've already are head and shoulders above the competition. If you combine that with the emotional bonding checklist, the emotional motivation checklist, you now have the ability to reach into somebody's heart, gain their undivided attention, and emotionally link everything they want to what you offer that makes them just want to take the next step with you. If you have somebody who feels like there's something that you need them to do but they don't want to do it, you hit them with once you've done the emotional bonding checklist, you add the resistance removal protocol for it, and all of a sudden they will generate the reasons for doing the very thing they said they didn't want to do. You focus in on those reasons, you talk about those reasons, and that's how you move them forward. Okay? Very powerful. You don't got to believe any of it works. You just got to go out and do it. Okay? So that being said, last call, so to speak, for those of you who want to get in on this last package offer. This is the Killer Influence UK Special Edition, 27 video set, plus the Mind Control Manifesto Manual, $2,497 value. We're going to include the Defense Against the Dark Arts, Psychosocial Self-Defense, and Behavioral Profiling System, $1,997 value. We're going to include the Renegade Reframing, Objection, Obliteration, and Speed Conversational Belief Change Home Study Course and Manual, $1,997. Speed Attraction, Rapid Attraction Secrets for Dating, Mating, and Relating, $1,497. I'm sorry, let me go back to this other one because there we go. There we go. I want the right prices. $1,497. The NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Trial Program, valued at $1,597. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And of course, the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value, and the Killer Influence 4-day certification boot camp, April 27th through the 30th, coming to a resort location near you. It's $2,250. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. You can get all this entire package for the one low installment of just $997, or you can break it up into 3 easy installments of just $397. All you need to do to reserve yours today is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/GO. All right. There you go. If the phone is busy, please leave a message. In the words of the immortal Cal Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night, my friends. God bless. Have a great start to your new year. I will see you on the other side. Take care, my friends. I love you.